Always something, isn't it? I just went through like 7 different videos to try to figure out how to force YouTube to stream from my phone in landscape, and every goddamn video is in everything but English. Indian video, Spanish video, Portuguese video. I think one was Russian. It's like every single video was anything except English. Hi, kitty. It's like, come on. I get it. We're worldwide, but I can't speak those other languages. Ah, always something. Always something. Now I should be able to bring it up on here. Oh, by the way, I had to figure it out by accident. None of the options I found helped me. I kept saying, check broadcast mode and check this, and no, none of that exists. Oh, hi, baby. How you doing? You want to see my critters? Huh? That's okay. I was just showing you the critters. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He is. Alrighty, now how do I get to here? There it is, live. So I should be able to come into here and participate in the chat. Let's pause that first so we don't hear double audio. Switch to, nope, not that one. There we go. And now we can switch to live chat. Hey, Sean. I should be able to play it, but mute the audio and click on live. There we go. Now I can see what's on the screen. How you doing, baby? Yeah. You want to be fed, and she hasn't gotten up to feed you yet, has she? Yeah. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. The computer's still broken. So, you know, the computer works fine. Just as soon as I put it under a load, it starts stuttering, and so I gotta fix the computer. It is the primary cooling fan on the CPU, so I don't have any fan even remotely like it. I gotta find out. And I don't want to just replace it with the same fan. I want to get a ball bearing fan instead of a bushing fan. So I've got to replace that fan. And the CPU throttles down to save the processor from overheating, which causes it to not have enough balls to run the stream. I find it funny that that computer doesn't have enough power to run the stream without cooling down, yet a cell phone has no problem whatsoever. Although that's not fair. The cell phone is optimized for it. So it's a little different. I finally got some tubes in the mail, so I can start building the motor mounts for the rockets. So the only so you got Naram is coming up next week. So next Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I leave and go to the airport to pick up Thomas, and then we drive 5.5 hours to Lordsburg, and that will be Naram. I will be home next Wednesday afternoon. His flight's at 2 o'clock, and we're aiming to get back here by 1 o'clock. You know, security is not a big deal in Albuquerque. It's not too much traffic there. And I forgot to check this again. Because, of course, the leveling is not correct again. And it's balling. Ow! Hot. Ball of hot wax. Or hot filament. It's hot. Oh, yeah. mess with that later. But I realized I got all these rockets made, and I don't have any motor mounts ready for them. You can't fly them without motor mounts. So some of the rockets use boat tails, and some of them don't. This is a boat tail example. So this is the motor mount for one of my rockets. The way I protect the heat-sensitive parts from the heat of the engine is simple. I put a piece of paper tube through the motor mount. And this will get glued in. Right now it's not glued. This is just sitting in here. But this will get glued into place, and this is where the engine will go inside the rocket. And this paper tube will insulate the plastic part from the heat of the motor. Now, if you print this in solid plastic with no infill, 100% infill, it'll handle the heat just fine. But because I'm printing a super skinny little vase mode single extrusion part, it won't take that much heat to damage things. Also, this little bit of tube here will absorb that initial brunt of the ejection charge when it fires, so that by the time the ejection charge gets out of this tube, it's not quite as violent, not quite as hot. And of course, there's a gap between the tube and the rest of the rocket, so it'll be able to handle that heat. This is also where I attach the shock cords. So this one's an unusual configuration. It's got 2 shock cords, so that the rocket will be dangled horizontally. Like normally the rocket will hang like this below the parachute, and the shock cord goes up and hooks onto the parachute. This, on the other hand, hangs horizontally under 2 parachutes with 2 shock cords. And the reason for that is for video. Come on, really? Really? You're gonna overlap and just annoy me? And I'm gonna have to kick you in the head and beat you to within an inch of your freaking life? Because I will destroy you. I could just print another one. Okay. So this is the cam rocks. This is the camera booster. So you can see here's one of the motor mounts. And the shock cord runs up the outside of the model into the inside of the model up here. And of course in here there's a second shock cord with a second parachute. You can see the parachutes are in here. So this shock cord, the parachute will swing out to the side, and it will hang from the back of the model, and the other parachute will hang from this end of the model. And the reason we do that is so that we can get interesting video all the way down. So I got my little Instago 2. And this bad boy slides right into here. There. Now I still need to put a shroud over this, and that was not supposed to do that. I specifically made this not to activate the camera. I thought I fixed that. I thought I fixed that so it didn't activate. Damn it. I have a little curve on the bottom here because the whole front face of the camera is a button. And so what happens is it activates when you shove it into the rocket. But that right there, if you have the rocket coming straight down, you're going to get some pretty boring video of just the ground below the rocket. And it's also going to be vomit video because this is now going to be a point hanging from one single point, and this rocket's going to do this all the way down. It's going to be rotating and spinning and twirling. Yeah, no shit. It worked. This is the first time it didn't work. The plastic must have shrunk enough to where it changed the tolerances, so I got to figure out which of my tolerances is not right. So by coming down horizontally like this, you now get interesting video as the rocket slowly rotates underneath the parachutes. And so you get the horizon, you get the stuff in the distance and things like that. So you get much more interesting video. If you watch my L2 video that I showed you guys on YouTube, you'll see what I mean, how the rocket comes down under a cradle. I still need to design a shroud to cover it. Right now I'm just going to put tape on it, but I need to design a shroud to lock in place. The shroud will serve 2 functions. One, it'll keep the parachute cord from snagging on the camera like that, and it'll also keep it from ejecting the camera, which obviously would be very bad. You know, a $300 camera, you don't want to eject it. But I tried to design 2 little curves into the shape so that it will grip the camera by the edge here, but not push the button on the face of the camera. Clearly that's not quite right. This is one of the reasons I like multi-process. So this bay section here is the camera bay, and I could design different bays for different cameras. So if I want to fly a little cube cam, I can design a bay for that. Or if I want to fly that other camera that I can't find right now, I could design a bay for that. And just swap out this section here for whatever section I need for whatever camera I'm flying. And so in this one here, I go from vase mode here, and then you can see here I switch to 2 perimeters with 25% infill. This way you have the structure to support the building of this chamber inside here. And then it switches back to vase mode to finish off the rest of the print. Simplify 3D lets me do that. I also got the clear PETG, so I made a clear payload bay. I heard something. Oh, motor tube. So now I have a clear section, and I designed this to actually allow me to encapsulate the payload bay. So you see this little section here is closed off. This way, this here, whatever you put inside your payload bay doesn't fly off into the rest of the rocket. But you can see it actually is transparent. So that's 0.6 millimeters thick and a 0.55 millimeter layer height. The only problem is it acts like a lens. So as soon as I move my fingers away from the edge, you can see they disappear. It creates that like sort of invisibility cloak that you saw on YouTube, because this acts as a Fresnel lens because it's individual layers. Now what I can do to make that, I'm happy with that clarity. That's fine by me. What I can do to improve the clarity of that is, this is a single wall. Like truly a single wall. There's no interior wall. This comes down to a 0 point, draws this part. That's why it's 0.6 millimeters, to make sure it's strong enough to handle flight stresses. Astro. No, we're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to launch anything that has vertebrates. No vertebrates. You can't launch anything that has a spine. Because, for example, if I were to put like an H128 in this motor and stick a little hamster or a mouse in there, that poor thing is going to very suddenly experience about 100 Gs of acceleration. Yeah, that would break its back. That would be extremely cruel. So no vertebrates. You can launch slugs and bugs and insects and stuff like that, but you can't launch any vertebrates. It's part of the safety code. I don't suggest launching bees. They'll handle it just fine. You're not going to hurt them or anything like that, but they're going to be just a little bit pissed off when they get back. So good luck releasing them without experiencing consequences. But so that's the payload section. You can see this payload section has double female connections, and so what I did is I made a double male adapter ring, and because this prints flat, I can put bottom layers on one side of it. So one side's hollow. Yeah, hornets, wasps, stuff like that. Yeah. They're not going to enjoy the flight, but you're really not going to enjoy their company when they get back. So by putting bottom layers, I can screw this into here, which, by the way, makes this another payload bay. I can put something in here if I want. So now when I put this on here, it's closed off. So now whatever you put inside your payload bay can't escape this payload bay. So that came out pretty good. Now, if you want to improve the clarity, the filament itself is optically clear. You can plainly see straight through the filament. Okay, so the filament itself is optically clear. The reason things get fuzzy is because of a lensing effect. The filament is round. It's not, let's see, how do I show you this? If we were to superscale the filament to this and call this the filament, well, the filament does not look like, a lot of people think the filament looks like this. So this would be a layer of filament blown up, one layer right here, and then this would be the outside edge that we see. Well, that's not what it looks like. Instead, what it looks like is this. The outside edge of the filament looks like that. So the bottom is flat because it's being pressed against a flat surface. The top is flat because it's being flattened by the nozzle itself, acting as a snowplow. But the outside edge of the filament is actually shaped like that. It's a curve, like a Lincoln log. And then your inside edge of your filament is also curved, like this, like a Lincoln log. So your top and bottom are flat, and your outside is curved, which means you're literally putting a, was it convex? Yeah, convex lens. You're creating a convex lens each layer you print. And, well, this is, you know, what, 250 layers? So you have 250 lenses. Now, if you print at a lower layer height, you would think, okay, it's going to be smoother, right? Yes, it will be smoother, but the problem will become even worse. So if I were to, this is printed at 0.55 millimeter layer height, very slowly with a 0.6 millimeter nozzle so that it would actually adhere. If I were to print this at 0.1, I'm increasing the number of layers by 550%. So if this is, let's say this is 200 layers. Well, now it's 1,250 layers. So now you have 1,250 lenses. And every time you increase the number of lenses, you increase the probability of flaws. So you want to print as few a number of layers as possible. Like this actually looks pretty clear. The slight ghostiness, you can actually see my hand through it. The slight ghostiness is coming from the lensing effect. If I had an example, I actually printed an example. What did I do with it? If you were to print at a lower layer height, it would just look milky. It would look even worse. So you want as high a layer height, as thick a layer as you can. And then what you do is you clear coat it. So you clear coat the outside and you clear coat the inside. And what that's going to do is that's going to take your individual layers that look like this, and it's going to fill the space in between those layers with material. And once you fill that space, now you have a more flat wall on the outside and the inside, of course. And you get rid of that lensing effect. You can, if you do it right, you can get pretty close to optically clear. I just don't have any clear coat to mess with it right now. But you can get, with a print like this specifically, because we have access to the inside and the outside easily, I can just clear coat this outside section, clear coat this inside section, and every layer of clear coat I add will improve the optical clarity of the print, even beyond the what I consider pretty excellent clarity that we have right now. Let me stick something besides my finger in there. Let's see. You can see the clarity is pretty darn good, even as it is. And the closer I push it to the wall, the clearer you can almost read the Stanley. But if I move away from the wall, you can see it gets fuzzier. So, pretty good optical clarity for an FDM print. Now, one of the reasons a resin print looks so much cleaner than an FDM print, even if you print at, yeah, I'm using a 0.6, but you can do the same thing with a 0.4. Just print it with like a 0.37 layer height and really slow down. The reason I went with 0.6 was not for the larger layer height. I went with 0.6 to make sure the wall integrity was strong enough to handle thrust. I mean, this wall doesn't have to hold very much. It's only got to hold this on top of it. But still, if this rocket goes off camber, it's going to increase the stress that this wall is going to experience. So I didn't want to use a 0.4 wall. Also, there are two. I love the fact that there's a guy who made a video specifically targeted at me. And if you understood the back history of us talking to each other, you would realize that he targeted the video at me. Because he doesn't like the fact that I make phase mode print rockets. He doesn't think that they can be high power rockets. Yeah, I mean, you can't break this with your hands. You can't break that with your bare hands. And so his demonstration, to show that his method is superior, is to take his tube and smash it against the arm of a chair and show that it didn't damage it. If I did that with mine, it would split it right in half. Oh, his way must be better, right? Yeah, well, please, by all means, enlighten me. Exactly what maneuver under thrust of a rocket engine would a rocket ever experience that kind of stress? I mean, is some demon going to pop out of a interdimensional portal in the middle of the sky and take a bat to the side of your rocket as it goes, shoo! Batter up! And here comes that ghostly demon. Whack! I mean, the rocket is never going to experience. That's the other guy said. Well, throw it against the ground, see if it breaks. I was like, when do you throw your rocket against the ground? When does your rocket ever experience that kind of flight stress? It doesn't. If your rocket experiences that kind of an event, trust me, your construction method is the least of your problems. Explaining why you designed a rocket that plowed through a brick wall is going to be your problem. I mean, oh man, this is designed to handle flight stresses. And 99% of a rocket's stresses are compression vertically. You have drag pushing down on the model, and you have thrust pushing up on the model, which means it doesn't need to be that strong this way, because it's not going to experience flight stresses that way. It's just not. It's a rocket. It's not a Pine Yard Derby. What are you going to do? Now, to be fair, there are 3 categories of stress a rocket will experience. The least damaging of them, oddly enough, is flight stress. I mean, short of you putting like an H999 warp motor inside that rocket, it's just not going to experience that much flight stress. It's just not. 50 G's to this piece of plastic is nothing. It doesn't care. It's going to go, did something happen? Because it just doesn't care. I mean, your little mouse inside might care because it's squishy with a spine and a nervous system. But this piece of plastic doesn't care. I mean, this has got 37 megapascals of tensile strength. It's going to shrug off 50, 100, 150 G's like it's nothing. Even if your rocket goes cattywampus and turns sideways, the increased stress is not really that much. It's one of the reasons why I made my threads so long, because I wanted a large interface between the 2 parts. Because one of the flight stresses, by the way, here's a 6.5 foot tall rocket. I'm calling this stretch because it stretches all the way out to here. I actually have to reprint the coupler because it's too tight. Yeah, it's way too tight. So this is the rocket I'm calling stretch. This is my version of the Mean Machine. So it's a little over, it's almost 7 feet tall. And I call it stretch because you can stretch it to any length you want. You could put 3 pieces together to make a short rocket, and then you could just keep adding segments up to the the modulus of whatever material you're using and the motor you're using. But yeah, I'm calling that stretch. Now, this rocket might actually experience some side load that would twist the rocket sideways like that, bend it, which is one of the reasons why I have a decent overlap in my threads. I think the threads on that are 27 millimeters, I think, on this. No, on this one it's 17. At the 60 millimeter scale, I think it's 17 millimeter overlap. And that is specifically to make sure the rocket doesn't fold if it goes a little bit sideways. So that's why I used a 0.6 millimeter extrusion for that portion of the rocket, just to make sure it would handle the whatever load is placed under it. But now when you put it together, you actually have a closed off section for your payload bay, so whatever you put in there stays in there. Actually, it'd be better if I showed you it with the caps on it. And so here's this one here is designed to separate here, and the parachute will go in here. But the camera rocket, this actually is a pass-through. So instead of this being solid, it's hollow, and gas goes right through it. Because with the camera rocket, I need bigger parachutes. If you come down really fast, you're not going to get very good video, so that would kind of suck. I just did something. Somehow I just rewound that. Or whatever. So with this, you put the flat end in toward your payload bay. And get flat end in toward your payload bay. And now you have a sealed off section inside the rocket. You know, 3D printing rockets are totally fine in Naram and stuff like that. What they were trying to do was, well, actually, what I think they may have technically succeeded in doing, I don't know, is to ban 3D printed rockets for certification flights. Once you certify, you can make 3D printed rockets, but if you want to certify, you can't use a 3D printed rocket. Yeah, well, I don't have the money to build a level 3 rocket regular. Which is why I would 3D print it, because I don't have the money to build it regular. You know, building a level 3 rocket with conventional building techniques, you know, you're talking $400 or $500. You could probably do it as low as $250. But I mean, just the nose cone, you know, if you build a 6-inch airframe, and if you're building less than a 6-inch airframe, good luck getting that thing back. But just the nose cone for a 6-inch airframe is like $70. I can print one for $1.50. I did. Actually, how much did it cost me? I believe the nose cone is 217 grams for the 5.5-inch rocket. So that is $15 divided by 1,000, which is not correct. 14.99 divided by 1,000, which is 0.01499 per, so 1.5 cents per gram, and times 217 grams, $3.25. So I could print a 5.5-inch nose cone. Yep. Yeah, it's a little far away, but I think close enough to be safe. I'll only be at risk for about 150 miles, 200 miles. You know, about 225 miles. I think it's like 320 miles, so, or 350 miles. So 150 miles. I'll be at risk for 150 miles. All I gotta do is make it 150 miles back toward home, and if I break down after that, then AAA will bring me home, because AAA maxes out at 200 miles. But in theory, I could make it from Lordsburg. I could get a simple 100-mile tow to the next town, and then get next day, you know, say, hey, they fixed my car, broke down again, I just want to take it home now, and then get my 200-mile tow home. I have to lie a little bit, but theoretically I can get home. Tom is going to cover the fuel during Naram, so I just have to have enough fuel to get there and back. Since I'm driving him, he doesn't have a license, he can't drive. So I'll be doing all the driving, and so as his share, he's going to cover the fuel while we're there. And of course, I'll stay at his hotel room, so I don't have to pay for a hotel room, because otherwise I couldn't go. The hotel's $129 a night, $119 a night, something like that. Yeah, I don't got that. So financially, I should be okay. I've got $100 put aside for food, and I got a big battery solar panel on the roof of the car, so I'll be bringing my cooler. It's a fridge, so it'll go down to freezing temperatures if I want. And now that I have a working fridge here, I can bring the big 40-quart cooler with me instead of the little 10-quart cooler. Come on, I didn't ask you to fall. Do as you're told, or get punished. It's that simple. You shall rue the day an inanimate object mess with me. Dang Nugget. If I don't expel it, I choke on it. It's very annoying. Like, the snot comes out of my nose and down into my throat, and then I can't swallow it. If you try, it just comes back up and sits there at the top of your throat. And when it builds up enough that you gag on it, you puke on it and you gag on it. It's very, very annoying. So I have to proactively expel it, otherwise I choke on it. TMI. It's a short Naram. It's, 4.5 days instead of full 7 days. So I'll be gone for 1 full week, since he's coming in a day early. So I will leave this Wednesday morning. Not this Wednesday morning, next Wednesday morning. And I won't be back until Wednesday afternoon. That means I'm going to miss 2 Wednesdays. So what I'm going to try to do is Maybe, if I'm not too busy packing, I'll hold a short stream next Tuesday evening as I'm packing, and then when I get back Wednesday, after I'm done dropping him off at the airport and getting home, maybe hold another short stream with a recap. Wednesday evening on the 2nd. And I don't expect anything to go wrong. It's a relatively new car. It's only got 75,000 miles on it. It's a 2017. Although some Kias have engine problems. So far, mine's been running fine. I don't expect to have any problems, but I have to plan for them. Because if you don't plan for them, well, they're going to plan for you. It's not like the past where I can just call up Pop and he can send me some money to fix the car, or if we can't, we were never rich, so that might not work. Him and my brother can jump in the pickup truck with the tow dolly and come out and grab me and tow me home. I mean, I can't do that anymore. He's dead. My brother's 2,000 miles away. We don't have a tow dolly anymore. I have no one who can drive the pickup truck, even if I did have a tow dolly. That's just, and of course, there's a chance that the pickup truck will break down. So I just don't have the kind of backup that I've always had the luxury of in the past. I could make these wild cross-country trips without a care in the world because I've always had the backup. And now I don't, so I gotta be careful. Or things could bite you. I also came up with another idea for a rocket. Actually, I have a picture of it from Naram 40, my first Naram. It was in Indiana. I forgot where it was. Muncie. It was in Muncie, Indiana. If you go to naramlive.com and you click on Naram 40 at the bottom, Muncie, Indiana, and go to the bottom of the page, ST's had a rocket called the Gnome. It's basically a little 13mm tube with a fin can and a nose cone, and a little plastic piece with a second launch lug on it. Well, I was looking at it, and I was like, looking at the two gnomes, and I was like, that might be interesting. And I cut the launch lugs off of the one rocket, and I cut two fins off of each rocket, and then I glued them together. So you had two rockets glued together, and each rocket had two fins. And the launch rod would go right through the center. And so it had two nose cones. So you could put two motors in it. And I called it Double Trouble. So I made a 3D version. And it came out fantastically. I designed this little, very lightweight, it weighs like 2 grams, this little ring. So it's got a hole in the middle for the launch rod. It's also got 2 slots, and the body tube itself has 2 rails on it, so that the ring and the tubes together align. This can't twist out of shape because it's locked into place by these 2 rings and the ridges. It came out fantastically. It looks great. And then it's designed to be 2 tubes long. And then if you want to take these motors out and put bigger motors in, so say you want to put 29mm motors in it, you can add another body tube length. So you can add another section. And now this up here pulling apart becomes an issue. So you can add another ring up here to make sure this can't pull apart under thrust. Because the drag might try to push these 2 nose cones apart. But then you put your nose cone on, if this is the right size. This might not be the right size. Yeah, it is. So there we go. So there's one nose cone. Then I have a second nose cone here. I haven't printed them yet. That actually looks pretty good in the purple. I thought I had 2 purple cones. I'm Groot. I do have 2 purple cones. So I can put 2 cones on this. Except I realized that I printed this part too fast. So this little tip breaks really easy. So I gotta redo the G-code for that. That's just a slice of G-code issue. So this rocket, of course, will have 2 nose cones for double the trouble. There you go. So there is Double Trouble. And now you could fly this with a high power motor. 29mm motors, no problem, because we made it longer. And or if you want to fly it on 18mm motors, you could take off these 2 sections, and you don't need this second brace. And so that's the cool thing about these is they're configurable. So I can take this off. So there's your connector ring that connects the 2 halves of the rocket, and I can take off one section. So this is a standard seg section, so I just take those two off. Then I can put these back on. And now you have your standard short double trouble, which doesn't actually need the brace up here because it's a low power motor. It's not gonna go fast enough for that to be an issue. But there's your double trouble. I just thought that came out really neat. And then you just print two more of these plus one of these, and you can make it, stretch it, make it longer, and put bigger motors. That's the part that worries me, is Michelle taking care of herself while I'm gone. In my 47 years, I've never left her alone for more than a week. This trip will be 1 week. And I guess we're going to find out. I mean, theoretically, she should be fine. I mean, she's not an invalid. She's not an idiot. She's mentally handicapped, but she's not dumb, if you know what I mean. I mean, she is capable of doing everything she needs to do to take care of herself. The question is, will she? Or is she just going to sleep all day? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm probably going to have to call her every morning, motivate her, make sure, hey, take care of the cats, take care of the litter box. What did you eat last night? What are you going to eat tonight? Try to interact with her enough to keep her motivated to do what she's got to do. What I don't want her doing is, opening up a can of Chef Boyardee every evening and having that for dinner. I wanted to do a little more than that. I'm going to try to, prepare enough stuff that she could just use the microwave. See, the thing is, you could forget to turn a stove off, but you can't forget to turn a microwave off because you have to set a time. So no matter what, it's going to stop at the end of that time. But you could turn a stove on and just never turn it off. Now, we use induction cooktops, so I don't have to worry about heat. If you don't have a pan on the stove, it'll just turn itself off when it doesn't detect metal. Same with the air fryer. Again, you have to set a time, so you can't forget to turn it off. Hey, Mike. We're getting ready for Naram. So that, that's a concern, and I'll have to figure out what to do about it. I figured out why the coupler wouldn't join with the nose cone. When I resized the nose cone, I shortened the threads in the nose cone, so it was no longer the same thread pitch as a shoulder, and that's why it wasn't fitting. Yeah. It's concerning just because, if something happens, I can't come home. Not only do I have someone with me who is depending on me for transportation back to the airport, but it's 5.5 hours away. So even if I wanted to, I'm 5.5 hours lag time away. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. And I guess we'll find out. Yeah. I'll have to make sure I show her that how to use. Well, she does know how to use it. She does it with Anthony all the time. So I'll have to make FaceTime calls with her. Talk to her through video. No, nothing happened. I'm just getting ready to leave for Naram, and they asked about Michelle, and I'm a little concerned about leaving her alone for a week. As you know, she's mentally handicapped. She's not an idiot. She's not dumb. So she's capable of doing everything she needs to do. I'm just worried about her choosing not to because it's easier. No, I never figured out FreeCAD, although I have not put a whole lot of time into it. Sometimes I wonder with these CAD programs, it's like, my first thought is, Are you intentionally making this program as obtuse as you possibly can? It's like, are you sitting down and go, how can I aggravate someone as much as humanly possible? Okay, let's do it that way. But then I also, obviously, I don't think anybody's doing that, obviously. Especially since all the CAD programs have the same problem. But I wonder why they're so obtuse. Why the programs are so difficult. Why something that should be obvious is not obvious. Is the niche thing that I want to do so niche? I mean, I don't know. I found out that bringing a picture, cool. But like, for example, I want to make an airfoil. So I want to make, let me find a, here we go. Perfect. By the way, don't use Ranky filament for my 3D models. It's beautiful, but it doesn't work. Yeah, that actually held. Yeah, that one held. Yeah. Okay, so the orange might work, but the green doesn't. Yeah, the orange works, but why? Why would the green not work, but the orange works fine? It's weird. Design Spark Mechanical. Does it allow commercial usage or does it restrict commercial usage? The beast has awakened. I can hear the beast rumbling from its cave. But I'm getting poor binding with the, although the orange seems to work okay. It looks like it's just the green. The yellow for some reason. But, so, you have an airfoil like this, okay? So I want to put an airfoil on this wing, and I want to, okay, so I draw half the airfoil. Okay, so you have to sketch it in order to do anything. You can't just import something. So I sketch half the airfoil. Now, what I need to do next, my brain tells me should be a very simple operation. I spent an hour and could not figure out how to do it. I draw half an airfoil. All I want to do is fucking mirror it, so that both sides are identical. Then, I want to place a drawing, a picture, in the CAD software on the plane of the sketch. You can't do that either. No matter what size... Oh, this is the problem I had with this one. I had splitting problems because of the poor layer bonding. I want to take my sketch and align it with a picture as a guide. Well, you can't do that either. I tripled the size of the picture. It's still imported into Fusion as a small picture. So Fusion ignores the scaling in your JPEG or your PNG, and it scales it to whatever the fuck it wants, and gives you that low-res image. So not only is it low resolution, it's not the right size. And now there appears to be no way to tell it, I want that picture to be 200 millimeters long. I want this axis to be 200 millimeters so that it matches the 200 millimeter sketch of the airfoil I made. There's no way to do that. Oh, and I also need to align the 0 point of this sketch with the corner of this drawing that I'm using to lay out my fins. You can't do that either. I know it can do it because it creates a bounding box around the picture, so it knows that this little corner right here is a corner of the picture, but it can't do that. But what I need to do is I need to lay down a picture of the fin so that I can take one airfoil sketch and put it here, and duplicate that sketch, which you don't seem to be able to do, scale that sketch, which you don't seem to be able to do, and then move that sketch from here to here, which you don't seem to be able to do. These seem like pretty simple tasks to me. I want to put a sketch here, and then loft between them. It's why I like Tinkercad. Because it's amazing, as many problems as Tinkercad has, it has those powers that they don't. I can import an image into Tinkercad. I convert the image to SVG, and then it imports it as a 3D object in the shape of the image. And guess what? 1 pixel equals 1 millimeter. So if I make it 200 pixels, it imports at 200 millimeters. So I can import to scale. And then in Tinkercad, I can align the corner of the one image with the corner of the other one. Well, you're not actually importing an image. You're converting the image into... and also, SVGs are useless to create sketches. Because when you import an SVG as a path, as a sketch, there's no arcs. I couldn't figure out why the nose cone was so bad. Well, first of all, it's importing as low resolution, and second of all, there's no arcs. So, for example, I need to find a little one to make this easy to show you. Oh, I got one right here. So, for example, this nose cone is basically 3 lines, or 4, okay? So 4 line segments in a sketch. You have a straight line going from center to center. Then you have a straight line going from center to edge. And then you have a 3-point arc from here to here. So you click this point, you click this point, and then you grab the center and you adjust it until it matches the curve. And then you create basically what's a hemisphere. You grab another 3-point arc from here to here and grab the middle to create this little dome top. So this entire nose cone, the quarter silhouette, or 1/2 of the silhouette, is 4 splines. 1 straight, 2 straight, 1 3-point arc, 2 3-point arcs, all ending at the same point. That creates this perfect nose cone. I select this plane as the plane to revolve. I select this edge as the axis to revolve around, and I perform a revolve. And I get a perfect high-resolution 3D model of a nose cone. But if I import an SVG of this into Fusion, it does not come out as one line, arc, and arc. It comes out as line, chunk, 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 line, chunk. It creates a stair step, like a 3D print. So it's recreating the arc using line segments. And so you end up with a dirty, nasty nose cone. So I thought, if I make a high-resolution SVG and then import that, no, it'll never work. Because when you import an SVG, you get no arcs. You only get lines. So it creates a point cloud and then connects those points with straight lines. And so your cone is garbage. So no matter what, I have to draw the cone. But I can't draw the cone to scale because Fusion creates a low-resolution copy of the image that it dictates how big the image will be and puts it in there. And then you have to try to guess on that fuzzy pixelated line, because it's a low resolution image import. No matter how high resolution your image is, you have to guess where the arc is. It's like, why? How come when I import the SVG into Tinkercad, it's nice and smooth? So obviously Tinkercad is doing a certain amount of smoothing. I use Convertio. So if you type into Google, let's say I'm outputting a PNG. So I'll just type into Google PNG to SVG. And one of the first links to pop up is Convertio. I think it's convertio.io or something like that, or convert.io. I don't know. It's a website. You upload your picture to it, and it spits out an SVG. If anybody knows of a simple offline program that will do that, let me know. Because the only thing I don't like about Convertio is that it's a website. So if that website goes down, or if I don't have a network connection, I can't convert anything. So I need an offline way of converting images to SVG. And so I go into Photoshop, I prepare the image in advance, I make it black and white, I clean it up, I scale it, I give it clean edges, I paint and fill it all in, I make it as perfect as I can. I then save that as a PNG, I upload that to Convertio. And, well, tracing the bitmap doesn't mean anything because I can't import an SVG into Fusion. What it imports is not usable. How do I describe this? Let's see. Where is that Sharpie? There's the Sharpie. Ah, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I doubt DXF would be any more useful. The problem is not Inkscape. The problem is Fusion. Basically, Fusion sucks. So, my nose cone is one line segment, an arc, and an arc. One, two, three, four. So, when I create a sketch, this is what I get. I have 4 segments. 2 are straight lines, 2 are 3-point arcs. When I import an SVG into Fusion 360, and also when I import an SVG into FreeCAD, same thing, this is what I get. I'm going to zoom into a section of the nose cone. This is what I get when I import it into this is what I get when I import it into Fusion as an SVG. It creates this stair-step pattern. And that stair-step pattern is useless. That creates such a garbage nose cone that... Yeah, I know, it's crap. I don't need you to do it in Build 123D. I need to do it. I need to figure out how to do it. Now, maybe I downloaded the wrong program. I tried downloading the Build 123, and what I got was text-based. It had no visual interface. Did I download the wrong thing or something? It looked like a command line program. Like there was no GUI. Did I download the wrong thing? Are you kidding me? Go away. Maybe I will leave the purple nose cones. I kind of like the purple nose cones. That kind of looks cool. Just gotta glue the tips back on. Jesus Christ, come on. Do you have to mess with me every step of the way? I reprinted the STM-12 in usable colors. These come together very nicely. This is the fused filaments purple. This is the atomic blood diamond red. Oh, okay. Hang on a second. There we go. That's long enough now, I think, to make it stable. Because these fins are so far forward, the center of gravity is going to be pushed really far forward. I also goofed up because I wanted this to separate in the middle like that, so that it wouldn't be such a strain on the parachute. And also allows me to line up the fins. But that turned out really nice. I am very, very happy with that. This also allows, I should be able to, I don't need to on this, it's not long enough. I could put a second launch lug segment here, and because these are joined on here, I'd be able to line them up. No, it wouldn't. The lugs would have to go on this segment. Because turning here would misalign the fins. But yeah, that came out really nice. I am super... I actually had to scale this down to 50 millimeter airframe because these fins are gigantic. I didn't realize how big these fins were. Holy crap. But yeah, they made them big to compensate for these. Because these are going to really shift your center of pressure forward. But yeah, I am super excited to fly that. I'm bringing the Kia Soul to Naram. Oh, and someone I saw the question earlier, but I ignored you. I'm sorry. Yes, I will have a battery box in the car and a solar panel on the roof. But I don't know if I'm going to bring a 3D printer. I don't really have a need to bring a 3D printer, and I'm probably not going to have the time to print anything. Although it would be nice to have the Delta with me in case I have to print out a motor mount or a center ring or something like that. But I suspect my best bet is just to bring extras with me. I only need to print like 3 or 4 of these because I can move them from rocket to rocket. So if I bring 20 rockets, I don't have to bring 20 of these. I only have to bring 3 or 4 of them, backups in case one blows up. So I'm probably better off not using the space in the car to bring a printer. Because I have somebody else going with me, so I need room for his stuff too. I also need room for the canopy, the cooler, the chairs, the tables, all that stuff. Although I'm probably going to put the canopy on the roof. I got a roof rack on the car now, so I could strap the canopy to the roof, and then I don't have to worry about interior space for that. I didn't have time to get my built-in canopies on the car when I was in that Vine program. For people off-road and stuff like that who have big roof racks on their car, they make these like awnings, like canopies that you bolt it to the rack of your car, and then you have an awning built into your car now. You extend the awning 2 poles to the ground, you're good. I didn't have time to get those installed. I got 3 of them, 1 for each side plus 1 for the back. But I never got a chance to actually, I don't even know where they are. I had to find them. So that'll be for next year. I might also be able to go to Naram next year. It's not solid yet, but the rumor is that they might be holding it in Pueblo again, in Colorado, for Verniglida Estes. Because they're getting pretty old. So if it is in Pueblo, I'll be able to go to Naram next year. But beyond that, my attendance of Naram is going to be rare. Because I don't have the means financially to be able to travel like I did before. I mean, traveling, the actual travel costs aren't the problem. The secondary costs, if something goes wrong, is the problem. So it's not the fuel getting there and back that's the problem. It's the, what if I break down? How much is that going to cost? Problem. I can't afford that. So I have to be careful of that. But otherwise, I'm going to bring as many of these rockets as I can. Double Trouble's going. STM-12 is going. Stretch is going. Nike X is going. Flatlander is going. Citadel is going. Phoenix is going. Groove Tube is going. The Argus Twins are going. Spiral and Spin Baby are going. The Deep Penetrator is going. Wedge is going. Euclidean is going. So that one's going to fly. This one's going to need a pretty beefy motor. He's pretty heavy. The saucers are going. The tubes are going. All the boosters are going. I'll probably bring a couple of the larger ones too, even if I don't fly them, just to show them while I'm there. This one, ring thing, is a no-go. It's too weak. There's not enough structural integrity there. That would, I mean, on a D motor, that would probably be fine, but anything larger than a D motor, this is going to start deforming in flight. So I got to figure out how to reinforce that. It might be possible that simply reinforcing this connection right here might be enough, because that's where it's all bending. You see all the bending forces are happening right there. So having an internal brace that connects these 4 points together might be sufficient to stiffen this up enough, you know, at least up through E and F power. Otherwise, I might have to, you know, combine my tensegrity idea to this. So one idea I had was to have a floating ring fin. So this ring, but no fin. The ring would just float. And the way I would do that is by having hard points on the model that you would tie string to, fishing line, and that fishing line would be tight to the ring. And of course, you know, this side would pull it this way, but this side would pull it this way, and it would, the stresses would balance the ring, you know, in the middle there. So you just have 3 points around the model on the top and the bottom, and so you literally have a floating ring fin. It'd be a pain in the ass to configure, but it would look pretty darn cool. I could do that with this. So, for example, with this here, just having a string run from here to here to here would probably be enough to stiffen this up and keep it from flopping so much. So we'll see. Because I'd like to make that work. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think it's a neat design. But the tube is stiff enough. It doesn't flex too much. But this connection right here is just too floppy. So that one will stay home. But the hammer's going to go. The 2 lodestars will go. Oh, this one definitely going to go. I love this one. I printed a whole rocket in the blood diamond red, and that's just beautiful. I love that. I believe this is the, yeah, there's the coupler for it. So I just got to print another nose cone. I should print a nose cone in a contrasting color. Give a little pizzazz. Maybe I'll do that in the rose mist. But yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Gorgeous. So I don't think I'm gonna have the Starduster done in time. It's got too much work. It needs the bullpup will fly. That'll be no problem. I've looked. There's no such thing as that kind of travel insurance, which kind of makes sense. The people looking for that kind of insurance are probably going to need it. People with old beat up cars. So even if they did have that kind of insurance, it would probably have some strict limitations, like your car can't be over this many miles, it can't be this old. So I don't know, but I have not found anything yet to cover that kind of thing. Also, it would be ripe for abuse, and they would know this. You know, they're insurance adjusters, they're slime bag leeches. So they would know that, you know, hey, my car transmission's starting to break down. I'm going to take a vacation, and I'm going to abuse the hell out of that transmission during that trip and then file a claim. So, yeah, it covers transportation that you're not in control of, which means you can't really abuse it. So I could see such a function being very abused. So makes sense why I can't find any. But, what are you going to do? Just have to be careful. I got to get off my lazy ass and make enough money that I can afford a situation if something happens. Or at least enough to be able to rent a car. Because if I could rent a car and not use my own cars, well then I'm covered by the rental company if I have a breakdown. And, I mean, I can't do that now, but what would that cost? So I'd have to rent a minivan. So, A, B, Q. Same as pickup. Let's see, if I did... Oh, wow, you can't do anything earlier than that? Really? Maybe. If I did the 26th to the 2nd. Pickup time. Actually, this would have to be the 25th. for a second. And let's make it 10:30 is fine. Drop off time. Oh no, let's make it later. Let's make it 4 p.m. So you don't get that partial day bullshit. I'm just curious. I want to see what it would cost. $500. So a mid-size SUV, you're looking at $47 per day, $513 total. Let's see. Jeep Compass or similar. I don't like the idea of it being a Jeep Compass because they're not fuel efficient. Oh, there's a minivan. Wow, they charge a lot for a minivan. $73 a day, $777 total. Ford Edge might not be so bad. They're relatively fuel efficient. That would be $600. And so basically you need the equivalent of airfare. And plus you still have to put fuel in the vehicles, of course. I couldn't use a car, not enough space. You know, it's got to be a mid-size SUV or larger. Because, you know, I got to put cooler, rockets, tables, chairs, canopy, all that has to go in it. So it can't be a car, can't be a crossover, can't be a compact SUV. It's got to be mid-size or better. So you're looking at about $500. Unlimited mileage, good. And so yeah, I would have to make enough to be able to drop basically $600 on a car rental, and then you could rent it for a week. Pickup truck could also work. Not as convenient because of the open cab. But yeah, minivans are expensive. They're 50% more than an SUV. No, you don't need a Ford Expedition. You think $600 for the car is a lot of money? Wait until you have to put gas in that Ford Expedition. Yeah, open your ass cheeks and cry now. Get it over with. Oh my God. No, you absolutely do not want a full-size SUV or a Ford Expedition. You do not want that. I mean, if you've got the kind of money necessary to fuel a Ford Expedition, then you've got the kind of money necessary to fix your Ford Expedition if it breaks. Yeah, that would be ridiculously expensive. So you can get as low as $43 a day if you got a compact SUV like a Chevrolet Trax, but I suspect that would be too small. Might not be enough space. Me alone, that might be enough space, but me with somebody else might not be enough space. Because me alone, I could put the chairs, my luggage, and my cooler on the seat next to me. Nothing on HueForge. I guess the community just doesn't care. I mean, I suspect they don't understand. He's publicly said that he is not claiming ownership of your work, but his terms of service says he is. His license says he is. He's saying he's not claiming commercial rights over your property, but his terms of his license says he is. And people have simply accepted his word that he's not making those claims, and what they don't understand is that his word doesn't mean anything. If there is a conflict in the legal system is going to completely and summarily ignore everything that you post that he said online, and they're going to say, but the license says this. Because the license overrides every word that comes out of his mouth. I don't even think he fully understands that. Again, I don't think he's malicious. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's trying to steal people's work, but he is. I think the core flaw here, and based on his posts that he's made online, I think I'm right in my belief. He thinks that he owns the output of the software. He thinks that the STL that he generates from HueForge. Did you see that? I threw a piece of the rocket at a mouse. I saw a mouse right there. Oh, don't you dare. My wreath is coming apart. I'm gonna kill that fucking mouse. I'm gonna impale him with this. Come on, you little fucker. Come out and play.
They don't want to play with you. You don't play.
I'm gonna fucking impale him. This note's gonna cost me 50 cents. I can print another one. Well, to be fair, the cat can't get there. Hey, asshole! Catch the mouse! Come on! Go ahead. Show your furry fucking face again. I'm gonna impale him with it. This is going to be my Lancelot. It's even got a handle. I'm just gonna Shaza! Did you see it? Did you see the mouse up on the fucking ledge? Oh my god. I think that he doesn't think he's stealing anything because he thinks he already owns it. Yeah, I mean, if I take your, it's like, for example, if the bank repossesses your car because you missed your payments, they're not stealing your car. They're taking back their own property. It's not stealing because they own it. He thinks that he owns the STL generated by the software. Not the picture that the STL represents. He thinks he owns the STL because his software made it. Today on today's 3D print, we use a 3D printed lance to lance a mouse. We need a 3D printed 3D printer that prints poisons, so I can put a little bit of poison on the tip there. So all I gotta do is nick them. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad guy. And I think he doesn't honestly realize that his terms of service is theft. That he is stealing other people's works. What really surprises me is some of the bigger name artists who are using it also don't realize it. I mean, these people go to lengths to stop people from taking their works and posting them to other sites. And they don't understand the license that they're signing either. And that's concerning. That's concerning. Now, yeah, for real. I'm keeping this handy. I don't care if I have to reprint a nose cone. If I get a shot, I'm going to take that fucker out. I happened to look in here, and right, where can you see it? Can you see it right? It was right there. I was like, that's a fucking mouse. That's why I grabbed the fin kit. I was hoping to catch it by surprise. I did. I chased him. I almost hit him too. I just missed him. Literally, I missed him by like an inch and a half. So I'm keeping my 3D printed rocket powered lance handy. It's even got sights. See, you know, I can. There it is, and I just press the button. Oh, they're coming from outside. It's almost impossible to keep mice out of houses around here because the environment outside is so harsh for them that they seek out shelter. And of course, the only shelter is our homes. So you got to make sure you don't leave food out for them to eat. Otherwise, they'll tear it apart. And of course, mice are incredibly, incredibly destructive. If you were to leave out, say, a case of ramen noodle soup, let's say the mice has a month. In a month, he can't eat one pack. But he will destroy that entire case of food. Because he's going to open up the first pack and eat a little bit. Then he's going to ignore that and open up the second pack and eat a little bit. And the third pack. And the fourth pack. And the fifth pack. They will open up every single motherfucking pack of food and eat just a little bit of each. It's like, just eat one. That will feed you for 2 months and I'll get the rest of the food intact still. But no, they tear apart every single pack. Yep, you have to make sure there's no net. Well, part of the problem is the underside of the house. I'm actually thinking about... I was thinking about putting a cat door into the subfloor of the house, the underside of the house, to allow the feral cats that are roaming around outside to get underneath the house, because then they can get to the mice, because that's how they get in. The problem is, well, the cats will then make that a home, because it's a nice dark space for them too. And I'm not too worried about smell. Things don't stink in the desert because they can't really rot unless they're in a sealed container. Food doesn't rot out here. It desiccates. It dries out. The only time food gets mushy and rotty is if it's sealed. If it's in a sealed container so the moisture can't evaporate. But as soon as that container is open, it just desiccates because, 12% humidity. Then I have kittens! Yeah, I like kittens! But I'm afraid of them making a mess because cats can make their own mess. Especially if a lot of them decide to make that a home. 1,400 square feet of space, that's a lot of empty space for them to make a home. Now, I know it's a bad idea, so I'm not going to do it. But another idea I had was to make sure the skirting around the house is secure, like make sure it's all perfect, and it is. I have one spot of concern underneath the door on the back here, where it might not be secure, but the rest of the skirting is all secure. I was thinking about having a hatch in the floor and put up a set of solar string lights underneath the house. And so there'd be some illumination so you could see underneath the house, and then let my cats go underneath the house. It would give them more space, and also they can hunt the mice, but I have a feeling that's a bad idea. If they got out, or if something got in, any number of bad things could happen. Or if they just went down there and decided not to come back out again. How are you going to get them? I can't crawl underneath there. So it's probably a bad idea. But, I don't know. Let the cats in there for a short period of time and then lock it back up. But how would you train them? How would you train wild feral cats? Okay, it's time for you to go into the house. And, a couple hours later, okay, you're done. How would you do that? So I set up traps. I don't use poison because, number one, I don't want my cats eating a poison rat. And number two, I don't want the natural wildlife around here eating a poisoned rat. Mouse. But, and what's crazy is that there's nothing to eat here. There's no food there. There's nesting material, but there's no food. There is no food on these shelves. This is all stuff. That's a hummingbird feeder. This is... I don't know what this is. Plants, hummingbird feeders, pots, lights, fans. It's stuff. I think my bug assault stopped working. I've been going crazy with the bug assault shooting the flies. This is fly season here. The um uh, problem with an air rifle is that, you know, I would go crazy and shoot one, and then, you know, God forbid if my cat jumps in the path and I shoot my cat, or I put holes in the wall when I miss the mouse. Um, that's a bad idea. That's asking for trouble. So I don't want to do that. So I'll keep my nice lance handy. You know, that's long enough for me to be able to, I can add segments to make it longer if I have to. I need to make a little rocket-propelled tip for it, so I can just, boom! Take out half the house. Got the mouse! Oh my god. It's like when you see a demolished house, like after a hurricane or a tornado, and the house is just destroyed, and someone put, there was a spider. I got it. Got the spider. Oh my god. Oh, it's crazy. I finally got an appointment with the eye doctor to find out what's wrong with my eyes. I got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday and drive an hour into Albuquerque. That's annoying. Yeah, I think mine died. It stopped shooting. I gotta take it apart and look at it. Yeah, bug assault's fun. For those who don't know, bug assault is like it's like an air rifle that shoots a little bit of salt. So you have a little cavity filled with salt. When you cock it, you load a little bit of salt. It's either air or spring, and when you fire it, you get a shotgun blast of salt. And you think, what can salt do? Well, salt is like birdshot, but you're shooting flies. I've knocked them out of the air. It hits them, and you just watch the fly go. Or if you hit them hard, if you get a direct hit, like one of the salt crystals actually hits the fly directly, it'll actually blast them apart, blow their wings off, smash them into the wall behind them, and just splatter them. It's like you being shot with a shotgun slug, except worse. Imagine somebody holding a shotgun with a barrel this big, and instead of birdshot, it had 50 cal lead balls, and they shot you with that. It would just blow you apart. Well, that's what the salt acts like to a fly, and like it's especially great when what I'll do is I'll purposely leave water on the, you know how the sink, you have the sink in your kitchen and you have that little bit of counter right in front of the sink. I'll purposely wet that with water, and the flies are attracted to the water. Again, we live in the desert. It's 12% humidity. One of the reasons the bugs like to land on your eyes and fly in your ears is because they're looking for dark, cool places with water. So they're attracted to that bit of water on the countertop. And what I'll do is I'll wait until there's like 4 or 5 of them there, and then I'll skip bounce the salt off the countertop. So I'll, like, if this is the countertop, I'll aim the rifle along the countertop like this. So the salt just goes along the countertop and just takes out like 6 flies in one shot. Oh man, they're not that bright, so it's pretty easy to get them. There's something wrong with my eyes. I'm having some sort of my immune system is overreacting, and my eyes are excreting a pus, and that pus is extremely irritating to my skin around my eyes, and I can wash it with water, but eventually the water dries out the skin, and your skin starts to crack, and it's extremely painful. So the doctor gave me some steroidal cream ointment to rub into my eye twice a day, and it works wonderfully. The problem is I have to keep using it. It gets better. Like right now it's pretty good, but if I were to stop using it, in a couple of days, the pus gets worse and worse and worse, and then it, it's back to where it was. So it's not going away. His method using the ointment didn't work, so he sent a referral to a regular eye doctor instead of the optometrist, and now I'm going to go to the regular eye doctor. Like right now, I can feel the pus. Basically the excretions from your eye. Normally, it's like water. My excretions are like maple syrup. It's thicker and it's stickier. And he says it's your immune system overreacting. It's overcorrecting for a problem it perceives. He says it's probably an allergic response. It's like could be the pinion pollen. Who knows? Something in the environment is causing an allergenic response in me, and my body is overreacting to it. And so I'm guessing the doctor's going to well, the problem is if I don't clear it out, I can't see. The pus clouds my vision, so I have to get rid of that fluid in order to keep the pus off my cornea so that I can actually see. There's times where I can't read the screen. It's a 65-inch screen. There's times where I can't read the screen because it's not my eyes that are failing. It's the fluid on top of the eye it's like milky, and it makes it hard to see. And I can't just use a wet rag. Normally I keep a wet rag and I would just take water to it. Well, the problem is if I use too much water, the skin around my eye begins to crack, and that is exquisitely painful. I'm talking ridiculously painful. So, catch 22. Pain in the ass is what it is. But, so I got that appointment on Friday. Later today at 4 o'clock, Michelle has a foot doctor appointment. And then tomorrow she has a therapy appointment. And then Friday I have the eye doctor appointment. Sunday, David's coming down from Colorado. We're hoping to go to the Nuclear Science Museum on Monday. But I still haven't gotten a call back from them to find out if they have wheelchairs or electric mobility scooters or something of that nature. Because Michelle can't walk a museum. She can't walk more than 50 feet. And so I gotta hope they have some sort of accommodation where we can push her around and something. Well, I mean, so far it doesn't appear to be hurting me as long as I keep the ointment on it. It just, it's annoying. It's been 2.5 months, 3 months now. What the hell is it? He had me get these very expensive, as in $20 for a 5 milliliter bottle, allergy eye drops. They didn't do anything. Nothing at all. They had absolutely no effect on whatever this is. So, who knows? I haven't taken any allergy pills yet because there's 3 different ones and I have no idea which one to take. He didn't tell me to take one, so I'm not taking one. I don't want to spend money on something that's not going to work unless he tells me to try it. I'm really looking forward to the STM-12 flying. This one's a fun one. This is my... Well... Seriously? Are you going to fuck with me? You asshole. So the answer is yes, you're going to fuck with me. Come here. This is the this is an old rocket that I don't remember who made it. I want to say Fliss-Kits, but I don't see it on the Fliss-Kits site, so it might not be a Fliss-Kits. It might be some other manufacturer that doesn't exist anymore. But basically, it's a tube, and then you would have 2 paper cones, and those paper cones, you did that, and it formed the base of the rocket. Well, what I did was I made it into a 3D printed rocket. So these line up, and I still have to glue these together, but the launch rod goes through here. There's 2 launch lugs inside on the tube, and it comes out here. Because otherwise you'd need a standoff that comes out to here. That's not going to work. So the launch rod goes straight through the shroud. And there's 2 launch lugs inside here. That won't come off. There it goes. there's 2 launch slugs in here. They all line up together. And the point of that is to make sure the those launch slugs take the flight stress and not the shrouds don't get torn off when it launches. But yeah, I used the gradient filament, so it changes color throughout the entire print. That really came out cool. I'm really looking forward to flying this one. So I'm gonna call it the Deep Penetrator, just because it's got to be done. But yeah, the 2 cones are all vase mode printed, and you just line them up, glue them on there, and that will be the Deep Penetrator. So that looks really cool. I'm looking forward to flying that one. Oh, come on, stop messing with me. Jesus Christ. Why can't you just stay there? Stay. Looking forward to flying Stretch. Stretch is going to be a nice flight. The Lodestars are going to be a popular one, I think. I would like to get one more printed before I leave, but I don't think I'll have time. So I've got one printed in purple and one printed in blue. And so that came out really nice. This thing is so strong, it's ridiculous. I think I could put a 29mm H in this and it wouldn't care. I'm not going to do that because I'd like to get it back. But you know, you can change out to 24mm or 29mm motors just by changing that segment. I even vase mode print the standoffs because the launch rod has to stand off from the rocket to pass this. But yeah, that came out really, really cool. And my cam rock is based on the Lodestar just because I like it so much. I am looking forward to getting some of these to fly. This will be the cam rock. The difference is the Lodestar separates here, while the cam rock has this extra section here, and the payload bay is replaced with a camera payload bay. And then I added this section so that I could put the parachutes in here. So when this comes off, your parachutes and stuff are inside there. And so that'll be my new video rocket. And, I'm looking forward to flying the Bullpup. Bullpup is like the bastard stepchild of the scale hobby, but I like it. Come on. It's just a nice, simple design. I like the Bullpup. And this should easily fly. There's the 29mm mount. So if I want to fly this on a small load, actually that's a I think that's a 60mm, or is that 80mm? That might be an 80mm tube. So this motor mount, I'm not gonna fit. I'll have to actually print separate motor mounts for this one. But yeah, there's your simple Bullpup. I like the Bullpup. It's just a cool looking rocket. Because it's also nice for scale because it's all white. You just have to put decals on it. You don't have to paint different parts of it, different colors. It's just an all white missile. So looking forward to flying that one. I'm also looking forward to flying my saucer. So I have a simple one-piece saucer. So 24mm mount. That's your simple flying saucer. But also this one is really cool. I am looking forward to flying that one. I think I'm going to call it Spike. But yeah, so this one's designed to actually eject a nose cone. It'll have a parachute because it's heavy enough that I don't think drag recovery will work. The only problem is I can't line up the colors between them. I can line up one color, but then the other two are reversed. So this one's red and blue, and this one is blue and red. I can't line them up, and that's because they print like this. So this prints this way down. The only way I can line up the colors, no, I can't print this way because that won't print. This overhang won't print. It's a straight overhang. That only works because I print it this way. And so when you do vase mode, it looks like it always goes the same direction no matter what. So because I have this part inverted, the vase mode direction is technically reversed. And so the colors are reversed. So that's kind of annoying that I can't. There doesn't seem to be a way to force Simplify 3D to go the other way.
Hi, everybody.
Because if I can reverse the direction of this part, then I could line up the 3 colors. So, but that's going to be a fun one to fly.
Tell them I said hi.
So they heard you. So this, you take your paper tube. Actually, that's 29 millimeter. So I got to get a 29 millimeter tube. But you would glue your paper tube in here. And this paper tube would actually almost go up to the top here, because I want to wrap the parachute around this section here. I want to make sure this comes off and does not leave the parachute inside the cone. But yeah, that'll be fun. The same thing. You see the hole right there? That's where your launch rod goes. So you'd slide that down on there. Now, I hope that this is big enough that I don't have a Krushnik problem. There's a thing with rocketry. If the nozzle is recessed too far inside of a cavity, there's a pressure wave thing set up where you lose all thrust. And it just fills this with gas, and the gas leaks out, but you lose all your thrust. But the motor is going to come down to about halfway down here, so it should be enough to avoid the Krushnik effect coming out here. Plus, that would melt the shit out of the inside. But yeah, that's going to be a fun one. Putting this up on like a G80 red line would be really cool. Although a Sparky, a dark matter motor would be really cool too, because the black smoke would fill this cavity and create this like cone of smoke coming out the back. And then you have the sparks from the titanium. Yeah, that'd be nice. So I'm looking forward to flying that one. And then of course I have Spin Baby Spin. That is, this one I have to be careful with because this is PLA, not PETG. But it's good quality PLA. So this one has curved fins. So this should spin like mad when this goes. I mean, it should really spin, because I got some deep curvature on those fins there. So that should create an interesting effect. So looking forward to flying these models. I got a couple other ones. So for example, I came up with the idea where the fin unit for the rocket is just a cylinder. No fins, just a cylinder. And then what you do is you use the infill as the fins with no top and bottom layers. So it's kind of like a tube fin rocket, but I'm using the infill. So that one uses sinusoidal infill. This one uses grid infill. But the problem I'm running into is that the slicer does not use retraction while printing the infill. And because it doesn't use retraction, you end up with this garbage. See that? And then you end up with this being incomplete, because what happens is it moves from here to here, and of course it's oozing while it does it. This is all, you can see all the ooze. So it moves from this point here to this point here to then begin printing this infill. But because it oozed all of this plastic while printing that, there wasn't no plastic here to print that. And so you end up with this destroyed infill and these freaking lines. And I can't seem to figure out a way to force the slicer to use correct retraction while printing infill. It doesn't seem to be a way to do that. I also made simple tube fin rockets. I have one with 2 tube fins like this, one with 3, one with 4, one with 5. So different amounts of fins. So here's 4. And then I can't get 3, it's buried. But 3 is there, so there's 4 of them. And so I have a different number of fins that you can play around with. And so that'll be fun. So I can screw these all together to make them easy. Now the cool thing is, with something like this, I just have to print, like 3 segments plus a nose cone. And then I could take that assembly and move it from rocket to rocket to rocket. All I gotta do is change the bottom half. So I have like 6 of these. I don't have to print 6 rockets. I only have to print 1 rocket plus 6 base units, and then I could just swap them. That's one of the cool things about being able to swap parts like this. I can say, okay, well, right now we're going to fly the 2 one. So I take out the motor mount, put this on, put the motor mount back in, fly the rocket on 2. Remove this, change to the 3 tube, 4 tube, 5 tube. Change to, oh, I call this thump, because the file looks like a hammer because there's no details there. You're actually using the slicer generating infill to create the pattern. So I could just swap parts and fly whatever configuration I want to fly. That's pretty cool too. Don't mess with me. Making a multi-stage saucer wouldn't be that difficult. I'm actually thinking about scaling this down so that it will sit on top of this. So make this about 1/2 scale, and then it would fire off, and then it would stage. This part would separate, and this part would keep going up. So I'm making a multi-stage saucer. I think that'd be pretty cool. Probably won't have time to do that before I go, but now come winter time, these smaller rockets, like these kind of rockets, I could fly them in my yard, because they're not going to go far. They're going to stay within 100 feet. So if I fly it in the middle of my yard, then it'll stay in my yard. So I should be able to fly them right out of my own backyard. Nice thing about having an acre, see, I can have a little bit of space. But I'm really looking forward to flying Double Trouble. I think that just came out so neat looking. But I just love how that turned out. I think that just turned out spectacular. So I'm really hoping this flies well. See, there's no brace in the middle here, but it doesn't really need it. But as you go higher in power, the concern is it might try to do this. So if you add the extensions, then you just add another one of these to constrain them and hold them together. But this configuration on 2 D20s will be fine. Theoretically, you don't even have to glue these in place. They should hold together by friction. I might put just a drop of glue, just like a dink, dink, little drop of glue, just to make sure they don't move. And then you can just take a pair of nips. You can just take a pair of nips and snip the glue drop that you put on there. This way it's completely serviceable. If you damage a part, you can just replace the damaged part, or change the configuration to something else. Heck, you can make this longer. You can just keep printing segments and make this thing 6 feet tall if you want. It's not going to care. But these fins came out really nice. They're really freaking strong. Like, just this arrangement, this design arrangement that I came up with here is just incredibly strong. I really like it. That crack was my fingernail on the surface. But yeah, I can't make the rails go all the way up to use the alignment pins that you see there. That just won't work because there's no way to guarantee they'll line up. When you thread the tube on, it's always off by a little bit no matter how careful you are, just because the plastic is deformable. So it always ends up in a different spot each time you put it together. So I can't put these rails past the first pieces. But you don't need it. You just slide this on without it. The whole purpose of these rails is to make sure these parts align correctly. So I am extremely pleased with how well that came out. That's going to be a nice one. I am very much looking forward to flying that one. And I might give away a couple rockets, especially the ones for the bigger motors. I'm going to try to make a deal with people. You want to try one of my rockets? Okay, I'll give it to you for free. But you have to finish it and fly it here on the field. Because I need a picture of it flying. I need to see it fly before I can start selling them. I mean, you say this rocket's done, right? And it should be. But I can't in good conscience sell this until I know it works. So until I see this fly in the air and I know these parts are going to survive, I know it's stable, I know it's going to survive the ejection charge and stuff like that, until I see that happen, I can't sell it. So I've got to see it work first. I've got to make sure it actually works. These aren't just toys for hanging up in your house. This can hurt somebody if it's not safe. So I got to make sure it works. I had to go a little off scale. Technically, these fins should be right here, but I needed these fins to be on the nose cone so that you could rotate them and line them up with the back fins. If they were on the body, you wouldn't be able to do that. There'd be no way to guarantee they lined up. And but yeah, that's a nice simple scale model. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. They all print together as one piece. I even left the fins square edge like they are with the ST's kit, just because I think the actual missile's square edge too. But I like this one. I like this a lot. The whole reason I made the boat tail was because I needed that little bit of fuselage, because there's supposed to be fuselage behind the fins, but I can't print that because this would be an overhang. So by putting part of the fuselage on the boat tail, I was able to print this flat. And so I could print that flat on the bed. Also by printing the... I could have put these fins on here and printed that, because I could just print this part upside down, and now that prints just fine. But the problem is you won't be able to line it up with the tail. And I didn't want to do a glue fit. I wanted to keep the threading. So it was easier just to move that part so I can still unthread it and take it apart. So yeah, I'm very pleased. I like the bullpup. It's a simple model, but the bullpup is just nice looking. Now I got to get a hold of Sticker Shock and see if I can get some decals made. Because that's what really separates, you know, my models from other models is decals. You know, they make the rocket. So, you know, some rockets like this don't need decals. The design and color is the style. The Double Trouble doesn't really need decals, but it could use a couple just plain, you know, Double Trouble decals and stuff like that. And, you know, Bring the Thunder, Fist 1 and Fist 2 on each of the motors. Yeah, just fun. This one doesn't need decals, really, because you can print each part in alternating colors. So that gives you your design. But still having a decal that says, you know, STREE stretch TCH at the end. That would just be fun. I got to reprint this when I broke it. Got to reprint this a little bit thinner. It's too tight. I could probably shave it down, but I don't know if I could shave it enough. So take away a bunch of plastic. See if that gives me a better fit. Still too tight. See, that will not come off when the ejection charge fires. And that would be very bad. Yeah, that part there is broken. That's not aligning correctly. So I got a new one printing.
Excuse me.
But yeah, so I don't have to reprint that. There's no way I'm going to shave enough off of that to make a difference.
What'd you do now?
And it broke it.
You broke it?
And just a little bit though. Little tiny piece broke there. That may have already been broken. I don't see any other damage. Oh, what I was telling you earlier, there's 3 classes of flight stress that these rockets will experience. Actually, my rocket's 4. 1, flight stress, which is not very high. These are just not going to experience that much flight stress. Your biggest issue with for example, would be like this rocket here. because it has such a long segment in front of the break point. That's why this is so long, is to make sure that this doesn't buckle. Your second stress is going to be landing. So will the rocket crack when it hits the ground? Well, that's your fault. If you put too small a parachute in the rocket and it comes down too fast, that's your fault. If you need the rocket to come down faster, then you cradle it. You attach a shroud line to the back of the rocket and you have it come down horizontally, so it's less stress when it hits the ground. That's part of the reason why I like designing rockets like this. Two issues. One, this means that the back is going to hit the ground first. Hey, Lightspeed. I saw your toilet paper holder. Oh my god. He made a toilet paper holder out of the Titan submersible. It's so good. Oh, I'm going to hell for laughing about it. But it's good. I just saw that last night. That was wonderful. But that's why I like having upcurved fins and a boat tail, so that, you know, no matter what angle this comes down, this hard point is going to hit the ground first, not the delicate fins. Although these fins aren't delicate, they're crazy strong. But some of these models have some pretty delicate fins. So this is your strongman configuration. This is not likely. You're getting death threats over it. Okay, I have a solution for your death threats. This might get you more death threats, but it would be fun. Are you ready? Are you ready, Lightspeed? You print the death threat on a piece of toilet paper, then you go to the bathroom.
Oh, God.
So you put the name of the person, the death threat that came from, you know, like a screenshot of their tweet or whatever, and you put their threat on the toilet paper, and you come into the bathroom with a first-person perspective, and then your FPV camera shows the toilet paper roll in your bathroom. You unroll a little bit, and there's their tweet with the death threat, and then you say, "Okay, folks, I'll talk to you later. I gotta go to the bathroom," and then you turn off the video as you pull the toilet paper off. That's what you gotta do. Every time you get a death threat, make a little video like that in the bathroom with their threat on the paper roll. Yeah, for the purpose of this video, you can get away with just printing it on a piece of white paper. So just print it on a piece of paper and then tear the paper off like that, and then just stick that into the toilet paper roll so that the death threat is sitting there on the toilet paper roll, and you bring your first-person camera down so they can read the death threat, and then you take it and you pull it off and say, "Okay, I gotta go to the bathroom," and then you turn off the video. And you do that each time you get a death threat. Oh, wow. Wow. You sold 60 of them? That's $3,600. Wow. Death threats? Worth it. Holy shit, dude. Good for you. Wow. A lot of work, though. You got to print 60 of them now. That's going to be a lot of work. Jesus. You know, after materials, that's actually not that much money now I think about it. Because you're gonna spend, you know, you're only gonna spend about $10 in plastic, so it's not that much plastic. But the labor, I mean, you have what 5 pieces? Is it 5 pieces to make that? I mean, the most efficient way to do it would be to set up 5 printers. You already printed 60 of them? How the hell did you print 60 of them that fast? Even with bamboo printers, that's freaking fast, dude. No, cost is a hell of a lot higher than 10. Materials is 10. But your cost, you have to amortize your labor and your machine time. It's going to be a hell of a lot more than 10 with the multiple parts. You're looking at you're probably looking at $30 cost per unit. And then you still have packing, shipping, box, stuff like that. Damn right. Holy shit. Wow, good for you, man. Even cheap plastic is going to be more than $3. How much mass is it? You're also undercutting your labor too. You have to account for paying yourself at least $20 an hour for that. It doesn't matter if TikTok charges shipping or fees. You have to pay shipping to ship it out. Well, yeah. Well, if you sent one down that low, it would implode. Well, 150 grams is light. I was thinking 350, 400 grams each. That's light. Okay. Do they? You should have a canned button with a reply. If you fart hard enough, it probably will. Really? TikTok pays for the shipping? How does that work? It's going to cost like $7 or $8 to ship each one of those. Wow. So they're only paying $40. TikTok doesn't take any of the price from you? They don't charge merchant fee or anything? How long is that good for? Huh. Well, they're not in any position to be the next Amazon. But what are they going to take afterwards though? What's going to be the normal? Damn. Huh. Boy, that is interesting. I could sell these nearly 7-foot tall rockets, and they break down into nice small parts because it all breaks down into 200 millimeter pieces. Huh. Hey, have you guys seen some of the stuff that you can get on AliExpress lately? From the $2 section? 50% over my dead body. Jesus Christ. That's insane. That's worse than YouTube's 30%. Wow. They have these magnet hooks right there. It's hard to see because of the brightness difference. Hang on. Turn down the brightness. These will magnetic hooks. 10 of them for $2. I just bought Michelle 100 pair of socks. 10 pair, $2. The little ankle socks that she prefers. Let's see. Decent little rolls of solder for $2. Reselling AliExpress is tricky. I do have some things that I am working on reselling here. I just got a couple of them in from Temu and AliExpress, and I think it might work just because of where I live. Where is it? Here it is. So hummingbirds are a big deal around here. Everybody loves the hummingbirds when they come out. And I found out you can get these metal hummingbird signs, and they have different types. So I'm going to try selling these for 20 bucks a pop. They're nice, they're colorful, they're made of metal, and they're not available on Amazon. That's the trick. You got to check Amazon first and make sure somebody doesn't have them on Amazon. Held for review. So this is something very specific that I could locally sell, and I can keystone my profit. So, you know, I can make 3 times what I paid. I'm going to try it. I got 2 different signs so far. I got a kite, a hummingbird kite. And, well, that makes sense. You can drop ship from AliExpress and... Wow. That's insane. That's one of the reasons why I tell people not to super chat in YouTube. PayPal me. Because PayPal just takes the 4% merchant fee, while YouTube takes 30%. So if you send me $10 in PayPal, I get like $9 and, 40 cents? I get like $9.50. If you sent me $10 in YouTube, I only get 7, because YouTube takes 30%. I can't imagine them taking 50%. That's insane. That's batshit insane. So I'm trying to find unique stuff like this that locals would like. And now the only problem is it's not sustainable, because it's a limited market. There's only a few thousand people around here. Once the 10 or 20 people who want it have it, then you have no more sales. And oh, so you have to order it first, get it, and then ship it. But how does that work? You can't guarantee it'll be 3-day shipping. I mean, even priority mail might not get there in 3 days. Oh, this is a great one. I already ordered 2 of them. I'm going to get a third so I can keep one in each of my toolboxes. Those cheap little USB soldering irons. $2. Hello. Yes. Those are like 7 to 12 bucks on Amazon. So I ordered a couple of those. Now, I can't give you an affiliate link for these because there is no way to affiliate link it, and you can only do it from the app. You can't do it from the website. If you install the app on your phone, it's going to pop up when you first open up, and you'll see it at the top, a $1.99 section. Tap on that. You have to buy at least 3. If you're in the U.S., minimum 3, maximum 10, but you can place multiple orders. But yeah, they have a whole list of things. Every now and then they'll sprinkle in some $2.99 and $3.99 things, but most of the list is $1.99. I've been getting these nice little elastic bungee cords with carabiners on the end. Great for just tying down stuff to your roof or your trailer. Oh, okay. It has to be scanned within 3 days. That makes sense. These little, I don't like this color, but these little chest bags are really nice. If you're if you're a photographer out in the field, those are great. It goes over your chest, so you put your arm and head through it, and so it's a single sling chest bag, and so you have this bag right here. You can put your extra batteries, memory cards, even a small lens, cleaning cloth stuff in there, so when you're out shooting, you have a place to put that stuff for your batteries and your cloths and all that stuff. They're very handy. Oh, it's 30. It's $2.99 now. This was $1.99. It's no longer a dollar. It might still be available for $1.99. Sometimes you have multiple listings, but those lever connectors for connecting electrical wires, 30 of them for $2. Yeah, I got like 5 of those. So I'll definitely have enough of those. These are just, I can 3D print these, so I didn't bother getting them. But 20 metal hooks. What the hell? 20 metal hooks for $2. If you got a lot of stuff you want to hang on the wall, like wreaths and posters and hanging stuff like that, that's nice. But I'll just print them. Yeah, they seem to be adding a lot of bags lately. Just stay away from the pleather PU vinyl ones. They have no durability. Here's a nice one. That's a nice chest bag. I mean, if you're a photographer, that's a great little bag to sling over your chest. It's not vinyl, is it? No, I think it's canvas. Yeah, it looks like canvas. But that's a wonderfully handy little chest bag. Do they have a picture of somebody wearing it? No, they don't. To give you an idea of how small... Oh, that's actually a backpack. That's actually a mini backpack. You see, it's about the size of an iPad mini. But damn, to be able to get this kind of stuff for... here's a simple Oxford... the shipping seems okay. I don't have any problems with the shipping. I haven't gotten too much on Temu, mostly because the kind of stuff that I want isn't really on Temu. Temu is good for fashion stuff. If you want puzzles, pins, decorations, stuff like that, Temu is incredible. If you want gadgets and electronics, you want AliExpress. Like those metal signs, I can get them on Temu or AliExpress. AliExpress was a tiny bit cheaper, so I got it from AliExpress. Now, what Temu is great for is pins. If you like pins, like I got this Big Bertha pin from Estes. I love that. If you like pins, and I do love pins, Temu is wonderful. All the pins are like $1, 90 cents, something like that. But you can get pins of just about anything. Let's see, what are some other good deals? Here's another little chest bag. Again, $2. Oh, that's actually nice. Nylon, good. Here you can see. Pause it. You son of a bitch. I want you to fucking pause the video. Why can't I pause it? There we go. So you see, it's a little sling bag, or what I call a crossbody bag. Except I wear it on the front, and that's where I put my batteries and my memory cards and my microfiber cloths and stuff like that. Any little things I think I need to carry with me out in the field. Also great for flying rockets. You can put your igniters, motors, clothesline clips, sandpaper for cleaning, alligator clips, stuff like that in there. I do notice that, okay, Temu is not the fastest for shipping. You're looking at 2 or 3 weeks to get something. AliExpress is faster, but only if you order from the right section. There are, so like for example, this promo section, this $2.99 section, 12-day shipping, and it really is 12 days or less. Hey, Darren. So anything you order in there, you'll have it in 12 days. So not bad. For China shipping, it's not bad. Now, some things, very long shipping. Like, for example, I ordered a tablet. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it, but I ordered it. The Blackview has a new tablet they came out with called the Active 8 Pro. It's got a nice IPS display, good resolution. It's got a decent, not great, but decent processor, lots of RAM. And it has a 22,000 milliamp hour battery. So it'll run forever. But the cool thing is, it takes a SIM card. Now, I have not confirmed this. I'll confirm it when I get it next month. But supposedly, it's a phone. Now, that's important. Because there are 2 ways to get on the internet with cellular data. You have what I call cellular internet. That's what this phone uses. This phone uses cellular internet. However, if I plug this SIM card into my laptop, where's my laptop at? Where'd my laptop go? I don't know where it's at. If I plug my X1 Carbon, it has a SIM card slot. If I try to connect that to my SIM card, it won't work. I'll get no internet. The reason I get no internet is because tablets and laptops use a different protocol for getting internet access. They use DUN, D-U-N. It's an ancient protocol. It's not dial-up anymore, but it's called dial-up because they've just retained the original moniker. DUN is dial-up networking. And that is how a computer accesses the internet on a SIM card. Almost all, matter of fact, as far as I'm aware, all U.S. cellular providers block DUN on the SIM card. You can get cellular data, but you cannot get DUN data. So when you plug it into a phone, you can get on the internet. But when you plug it into your computer, you cannot get on the internet. Some will allow you to purchase access to DUN. That's what they call tethering. And that's the reason it's a separate protocol. It's because you might have unlimited data on your phone, but you only have... I have an old X1 Carbon. I got it for like 120 bucks. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Where's my Carbon at? There it is. Come here. There we go. What the hell? Oh. What the hell? Hey, it didn't break. Oh, yep, I broke it. That cracked it. God damn it. Why do you gotta mess with me? But yeah, my old Lenovo X1. So it's a little skinny laptop. It's a nice machine. I like it. It's got a light up keyboard, which I really like, and 16 gigs of RAM. That was important. But HDMI, double USB here, single USB here. It's also got FireWire. Yeah, FireWire connection, or not FireWire, DisplayPort, I think, or it might be FireWire. I don't know, but it's a nice little machine. I can also charge it by USB-C. I got an adapter that converts to USB-C. But it doesn't work in here because this requires DUN, and U.S. SIM card providers block DUN. People tell me that many of these Chinese tablets are basically just phones, and they actually use cellular data, which means I'll be able to use my $15 a month unlimited data SIM card in the tablet. I bought it because of that, so I'm hoping that works. I'll have a 22,000 milliamp hour battery, a 10.5-inch screen that's better than 1080p, and a decent. It's the G99 6nm processor. Not as good as a Snapdragon, but not bad. So I'm really hoping it works. If it doesn't work, I'll probably sell it, because I already have a really nice tablet. I have a Lenovo P1, really nice tablet. But this has got Android 13, and it's got the 22,000 milliamp hour battery, which is amazing. So I'm hoping it works. But 250 bucks. It was their opening promo selling it. It's going to be like $399 normal price. I was like, okay, I'll gamble. I'll take a shot. We'll see. And hopefully by the time I get back from Naram, my battery will be in for my nice cell phone, because I want my phone back. You know, this thing it's usable, but you know, it's slow. It's annoying. It's very annoying. This has got a Snapdragon in it. It's an older Snapdragon, but it's a Snapdragon 650. It's more than fast enough. This is nice. So, and then I gotta hope I can manage to rip this screen off without destroying it and replace the battery. That's why I hope the EU is successful in mandating replaceable batteries. I hope they're able to successfully pass that into law, because I am getting sick and tired of non-replaceable batteries. I held out for the longest time. I stuck with my my Samsung Note 4 for like 4 generations, just because I didn't want to give up that replaceable battery. I can still use, I have like 4 of them. I could still use my Note 4s today. I could still buy batteries for that phone. I don't know where they are, but I could still put new batteries in that phone and still use that phone today. While this, year and a half old phone is a paperweight now. It runs for about 35 seconds on the battery before it shuts off. And the battery is puffed up so much, it's actually warping the entire back of the phone. This is supposed to be flat. And it's a big balloon bulge now. It's actually starting to bend the frame around the cameras. This here is supposed to be flat. It's actually starting to bend that, because the battery is puffing up inside. And you know what their replacement service for the battery is? Yeah, buy a refurb on eBay for $400. Fuck you. What they need to do is either mandate that they have replaceable batteries, user replaceable batteries. I'm actually looking at, I can't afford it now, I have no money, but I can't afford it now, but I'm looking at the Tank 2 from 8849. The only thing I don't like is the G99 processor. I don't like that. I wish they would put a Snapdragon in it. Raise the price $50 and put a Snapdragon in there. But it actually has, it's a giant tank of a phone with a 15,000 milliamp battery. This is 10,000 milliamps. But it actually has screws on the back that actually work. You can actually take those screws out and take the back off, which means you have reasonable access to replace the battery. So I think they should either make it a legal requirement. This is what government is for. This is the purpose of government, to do things like this. When a company's trying to screw you over, the government should step in and say, no, you can't do that. Make it mandatory that the battery is user replaceable, or you provide a reasonable, for example, $50, including shipping both ways, service to replace the battery in the phone, and you have to provide that service for some arbitrary number of years. I suggest 10 years. Most of this hardware is usable for 10 years before it just becomes unusable. So maybe 7 years. I think 5 is too small. I think 10 might be too long, so maybe 7 or 8 years would be a good compromise, where you must provide a service at like 50 or 60 bucks. Obviously, like a gigantic battery like this may be more money, because the battery alone is $45. So that might be $100. But your typical 3,000 or 4,000 milliamp battery is $17. And so they're getting $33 to cover shipping and labor. That if your battery doesn't last for at least 80% of its original capacity, that you must provide a service to allow people to pay a reasonable, say $50, including shipping both ways, fee to replace the battery through you. So you can either make the battery replaceable, or you must replace the battery for a reasonable fee for a reasonable amount of time. I think that should be required. I think it should be mandatory. Same thing with laptops. The only exception that I might call for is things like this. There's just no way to. I don't think there's a feasible way to make this a user replaceable battery. But then you have the service. I pay you $50, you replace the battery in it. And because they're not even doing what they should. Like, for example, this phone should not have a lithium-ion battery in it. There is no good reason to put a lithium-ion battery in this phone. It's a 10,000 milliamp hour battery. So change it to 8,000 milliamp hours and put a lithium iron phosphate battery in here. Now that battery is going to last 10 or 15 years. Well beyond the feasible lifespan of this piece of hardware. But no, they continue to use lithium-ion batteries, which are good for about a year and a half, 2 years in a cell phone. I mean, sure, you might get 3 or 4 years, but in general, you're going to get about 2 years. I hate non-replaceable batteries. God, I hate that so much. What are you going to do? You can still get calipers. You can still get the 100-pack of solder seal sets for $2. I've actually been buying parachutes. I know it's weird, but I can get parachutes so cheap on AliExpress, but only through that deal. Only through this $2 thing that they have. Because even the regular price for these parachutes is crazy. Shipped. So I got 10 pairs of socks for $2. They're not going to fit me, but they'll fit Michelle. But I've also been ordering these. I must have ordered like 20 sets. They normally sell these, 4-pack for $5. Well, they're in the $1.99 section, so I get them for $1.99. And that's 50 cents a parachute. And they're pretty big parachutes. They're like 18-inch parachutes. USB soldering iron, wiper blades for your car. I've been getting a couple wiper. I got like 3 of them because only one size I can use. Well, it's been long before Apple, but yeah. Well, okay. I partially understand why they put non-replaceable batteries. It reduces manufacturing costs, and it makes it a lot easier to make the phone waterproof. I don't care. They also do it because they know the battery is going to go bad in a couple of years, and you're going to have to buy a new phone. They also do it for that reason. There's a great YouTube, if you haven't seen Mind of Nerys, my political channel, I posted a rant there. Alec Watson, Technology Connections. Love his channel. If you haven't seen his channel, go check it out. You're probably going to like it, and you're probably going to survive. He deep dives things. So he'll pick something, and then he'll deep dive it. The history, taking it apart, usage, everything. He really does a deep dive. And and also he has this voice that's very soothing. He has a very, very soothing audio presence. And I absolutely love his content. But his last video pissed me off. Oh my God, it pissed me off. He was talking about incandescent light bulbs and the history and production of incandescent light bulbs. Great, wonderful content. Except he also brought up the Phoebus cartel. And he was using his knowledge about the history of the incandescent light bulb to poo-poo people who used the Phoebus cartel as an example of planned obsolescence. He's saying it's not really the point or a big deal because incandescent light bulbs really can't last longer than 1,000, 1,500 hours unless you make them less efficient. You basically have to use a thicker element inside. So the 2,500 hour bulbs, they last longer because they use a thicker element. And to get the same brightness, they have to make them use more power. So a 75 watt soft white bulb, to make the 2,500 hour bulb similar lifespan, it has to consume 100 watts. And the cost of that extra 25 watt hours of electricity exceeds the replacement cost of the bulb. Well, here's the problem. He's wrong. He is so dead wrong. It's laughable how wrong he is. This is one of those intelligent people fall for the same failing. And sometimes unusually intelligent people fall for this easier. Sometimes. Once you get a thought in your head, you won't let it go. That thought becomes reality, and it now requires extraordinary evidence to get you to stop thinking that thought. I'll give you an example of this. When, we had the porno shop in New Jersey. It has a lot of light bulbs. A lot of light bulbs. Because you're not really allowed to have windows in a porno shop. So the only window was the heavily tinted mirrored finish of the front door, and that was a two-turn to get into the store, so you couldn't look through the door and see the stuff in the store. For kids walking by and crap like that. Largely bullshit, but that's ostensibly the reason. But anyway, the whole place had to be lit up with artificial light, of course, because there was no natural light. So we used a lot of light, and we were open, well, in the past, we were open 24 hours a day, but even in modern times when that wasn't viable anymore, we were open 18 hours a day. So all of the lights in our building were on for a minimum of 18 hours a day, and some of the lights were on for 24 hours a day so that the security cameras would have illumination. Even night vision cameras work better when there's a little bit of light. You get more clarity. So I wanted to replace all of the bulbs with compact fluorescents. Do you remember those? The compact fluorescents, the little spiral bulbs? Okay. I wanted to replace every bulb in the building with compact fluorescent bulbs. And there was a problem. I wasn't running the store at the time. You know, this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. You know, I was just working there helping him, and, you know, it was his store. He said no, because the bulbs were $7.50 each. You know, there was like $7.25 for a good quality. I learned very quickly to not buy the cheaper compact fluorescents because they don't last. Basically, the lifespan of the bulb, you could ignore whatever lifespan was on the box. Flip the box over, read the warranty. However many years they warranty the bulb, that's the lifespan of the bulb. So Sylvania bulbs were warranted for 5 years, and guess what? They lasted more than 5 years. The bulbs that came with a 1-year warranty, yeah, 18 months they were done. So I had to convince him to let me spend hundreds of dollars to replace all the bulbs in the store. It cost like $500. And he just flat out said no. Because, you know, it's $7.25 for a light bulb. You're fucking nuts. The bulbs are 25 cents a piece. You buy a 4-pack for $1. And I could not convince him that he would save money spending $7 for a light bulb. I just could not convince him of that. It was set in his brain that there was no way in hell that a $7 light bulb used enough less electricity than a 25-cent light bulb to pay for the $7 cost of the light bulb. There's no way in hell. Why? Because he was clueless. He had no, and most of you are clueless too. Most of you, and I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. Most of you, including me, until I sat down and did the math, I was also clueless. Have no idea how much anything consumes in your house. And there's a reason for that. There's no line item on your electric bill that says porch lamp, $15. There's no line item on your electric bill that says your oven bulb consumed this much, your microwave consumed this much, your fridge consumed this much. This is why there are Energy Star labels on major appliances, to give you some idea of how much power they consume. Like my little fridge that I have here, the 4.5 cubic foot fridge, consumes approximately $31 worth of electricity per year. Now, that's a bit more where I live, because I pay 15 cents per kilowatt hour, not 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So for me, that's more like $46 a year. But the point is, it gives you some kind of grasp of how much that's going to cost you per year. But you can't do that for light bulbs. You don't know how much you're going to have light bulb on. Obviously, the light bulb you turn on twice a month to go into the basement is going to use a lot less power than the light bulb in your kitchen that's on all day, every day. So the only way I could convince him was to not convince him. He had to convince himself. He had to be the one that came to that conclusion before he would let go of the internal bias he had in his head and accept something different as the end result. So I had him sit down and bring up the electric bill. He's like, well, just tell me. I was like, I can't tell you. You will ignore everything I say. You will reject everything I say because you have it stuck in your head that these bulbs can't consume that much power. So if you don't come to the conclusion yourself completely from start to finish, you're not going to listen to me. And he's like, you're not going to let this go. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to let this go. This is important. So I had him bring up last month's electric bill, $1,800. That was back, it was a lot of money. We paid a lot for electric there. He brought up the electric bill, and I was like, okay, we need two numbers. I was like, I need the total amount of your electric bill, and I need the total kilowatt hours of electricity that we used last month. And he's like, well, why? And I was like, well, we need to figure out how much money you're paying to run any particular thing. And I was like, what we need to figure out is how many pennies per watt you're paying for electricity. And then we can then figure out how much power any item you want consumes, and we can then use that to multiply it against how much we now know you pay per watt. And I was like, so if your air conditioner consumes 3 kilowatts or 10 kilowatts of power, and you're paying 10 cents a kilowatt, then you're paying $1 per hour. No, $10 per hour to run that unit if it's a 10 kilowatt unit. I was like, of course it cycles on and off, so you have to, it's $1 an hour. And he's like, okay, that makes sense. So he found the total amount of the bill, and he found the kilowatt hours. And I was like, okay, now punch into a calculator the total amount of the bill, and then divide it by the kilowatt hours we used. And he came up with a number. I don't remember what it was. I think it was, we actually had a pretty good deal on electricity back then. I think we were paying 11.2 cents a kilowatt hour. It was like 7.4 cents a kilowatt hour, but then you have delivery and generation and taxes, so you have to add all that in. So the grand total was like I think it was like 11.4 cents a kilowatt hour. I think it was more than that. I think that was just generation. Whatever. I'm gonna call it 10 cents a kilowatt hour just because it makes this conversation easier. So he comes up with a number. Okay, 10 cents a kilowatt hour. I was like, okay, now divide that by 1,000. He's like, why? I was like, because a kilowatt is 1,000 watts. And the gadgets we use, we measure in watts. So you have to divide by 1,000. He's like, okay, that makes sense. He divided it by 1,000. And it came up to like 0.002 or something like that. I was like, so that's how much you pay. Now that's dollars. Now if you want to do pennies, we would have to multiply that by 100, but let's leave it at dollars because we're going to come out the dollars in the end. I was like, that's how many dollars, not cents, but dollars you pay per watt. And I was like, okay, that bulb above your head, how many watts is it? We actually keep spares. So he pulled down the box of bulbs. This is 100 watts. I was like, okay. Do you know what that means? He's like, no. I was like, that means that bulb every hour will consume 100 watt hours. So 100 watts. A bulb is a continuous load. It does not turn on and off. So it uses the same amount of power every second. It's not like a fridge that turns on, turns off, turns on, turns off. So it's not, you don't need the average. It's continuous. It's always, if it's on, it's drawing 100 watts. Like, that makes sense? He's like, yes. So it's 100 watts. We need to convert that to watt hours because that's what your electric bill is. Your electric bill is watt hours. He's like, what's the difference? And I was like, okay. Watts is power. Watt hours is energy. So power is how hard do I hit you. Energy is how much total energy do I deliver to your body. Now, I could deliver this amount of energy by punching you really hard, or I can deliver this amount of energy by pushing on you gently, but I keep pushing for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I will have delivered enough energy to your body to be equal to the punch, okay? So with the punch, I'm delivering the same amount of power, but I'm delivering it all at once. So that's the difference between power and energy, okay? So power is how much, how hard, and energy is how much total over time. He's like, okay, that makes sense. So your bulb draws 100 watts. It's constant, so there's no punch or push. It's a constant 100 watt push. That means it's 100 watt hours. So you will consume 100 units of energy every hour. That's watt hours. It's like, okay, that makes sense. I was like, so your bulb is a continuous draw. It's not cycling on and off like an air conditioner. And it consumes 100 watts. So how many watt hours does it consume every month? And I was like, let's do it simply. Is the bulb on now? Yes. How long is it going to be on? Well, that bulb's on 24 hours. Okay, so multiply it by 24. 100 times 24. And now there's 30 days in a month. So multiply it by 30. That's how much energy that bulb uses each month. So you take that amount of energy, which is watts, and you multiply it by the price that we came up with from your electric bill. And he punched it into the calculator, and it came up to what was it, $12.47? I think it was $12.47. I think. I'm not 100%. It was well over the price of the bulb. It was like he looked at the screen on the calculator, looked at the bill, looked at me, looked at the screen. I could swear I see smoke coming out of his ears as his brain was beginning to crunch the data and process this. Now, this worked because he came to this conclusion himself. So he was trying to dismiss it. The reason he took so long is because his brain was trying to reject the conclusion it had just drawn. He had just come to the conclusion I told him, and his brain was like, no, no, no. But I ran the numbers myself. No, no, no. But I just did the math myself. The electric bill is that much. The kilowatts is that much. There is that many hours in a month, and the bulb is consuming that much power. His brain was starting to process the data that he had come to the conclusion of because I made him go through the entire process. He didn't even open his mouth. He opened the cash register, took every 20 and 50 out of the drawers, a little over $200 we had in the drawer. He's like, replace every bulb in the building. He's like, whenever we have money, just take it and replace every bulb in the building. Our summer electric bill went from around $1,800 a month to about $1,400 a month. Just changing the light bulb saved us over $400 a month. But it took me spending half an hour with him to have him process the data himself for him to finally eject the bias that was in his mind and come to the grips with this is correct. And I think something similar happens with unusually intelligent, because I would consider my father to be unusually intelligent. He's not brain intelligent, like he's not that doesn't make any sense. He's not nerd intelligent. He's not into gadgets, electronics, and computers and 3D printing like I was. He had just general high intelligence. He was not a dummy. He would if we knew his IQ, it would definitely be above average. And so it was just a matter of getting past that internal bias to come to that conclusion that he needed to draw, because he'd just grown up with this false conclusion. And if you repeat the same lie often enough, it becomes the truth. And it now becomes so normalized that it requires extraordinary effort to usurp it. That's part of where racial problems come from. That's part of where poverty problems come from. A lot of this is intentionally reinforced over and over, generation after generation, which is one of the reasons it's so difficult to change. These people have to come to the conclusion that the change is necessary internally before they will accept the external stimulus that's telling them that this change is necessary. And we abuse that intentionally to make it hard to make that change. But what Alec Watson in Technology Connections, his mistake, his error, was that he has 90 years of knowledge past the Phoebus cartel. And his knowledge makes his conclusion retroactively correct. But he was dead wrong. He was so dead wrong that it enraged me. Not like, you know what I mean. It annoyed the hell out of me. Because the Phoebus cartel did not have his 90 years of knowledge to come to that conclusion. What is a crime? What is evil? Is Hitler wanting to wipe out all non-Aryan Caucasians evil? Yes. If an alien civilization visits Earth to terraform it, and that alien civilization is so advanced that they don't even recognize humanity as life, that to them we're no different than ants. We're not sentient on their level. And they start terraforming the earth and wipe out all of humanity. Is what they did evil? No. It's wrong. Okay? Is killing someone wrong? Yes. Is killing someone evil? No. Evil requires intent. Okay? And any laws that don't require intent are not laws in my book. They're illegal, they're unconstitutional. But in general, most of our crimes require intent. It's called criminal intent. Killing someone is not illegal. Killing someone with criminal intent is illegal. This is why we have homicide, murder, and wrongful death, and accidents, and self-defense. We can justify killing. That doesn't make it right. It's never right. Killing is always wrong, no exceptions. But it can be justified. Justified does not equal right. And that's another fatal flaw people make. They make a connection between justified and right. If it's justified, it must be right. No. Killing is always wrong. Justified does not equal right. Justified means we are going to accept that wrong as allowable. Not right, but allowable. Okay? That's why you have to have proportional use of force. That's why we have self-defense, etc., etc. The cartel had no idea that 1,000 hours would be the pinnacle of incandescent bulb technology. In fact, exactly the opposite. The reason the cartel created their conspiracy, and that's what it was an actual conspiracy, was because they assumed, because light bulbs had just experienced a massive technological improvement when we figured out how to use tungsten in non-reactive gases, argon, nitrogen, etc., to create a light bulb that would last substantially longer. So they assumed that technology would continue to improve the light bulb. And they realized that they were going to make a lot less money if that happened. So they created a cartel as a conspiracy to artificially restrict the lifespan of bulbs to maintain their profits. It's like, but light bulbs can't last longer than 1,000 hours anyway without using more power. I don't care. He's right about all of that. It doesn't matter, because that's not why they created the cartel. Their intent, even if they ended up being wrong, their intent in creating the cartel was to create planned obsolescence, to artificially restrict the lifespan of bulbs to maintain their profits. So you'd have to keep coming back and buying more light bulbs. That is why they did what they did. The reason the Phoebus cartel is the perfect example of planned obsolescence is because it actually happened. It actually happened for that reason, and we can prove it. So it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a proven conspiracy. They actually did this, and that is why they did it. The fact that they were wrong, that bulbs would go on to be 1,000 hours no matter what anyway, is irrelevant. The fact is, they did it on purpose to harm people. It was planned obsolescence because that's what they intended it to be. You can't use your next 90 years worth of knowledge to retroactively alter their intentions, because that's not how life works. That's why if you try to kill someone and you fail, we still charge you with attempted murder. Because the fact that you failed is irrelevant. You tried. Your intent was to harm. The fact that you failed doesn't matter. You still committed a crime. They created a conspiracy cartel in order to enforce planned obsolescence. It doesn't matter that they were wrong and that bulbs would go on to be that number of hours anyway because of physics and chemistry. That doesn't matter because that's not why they did it. I mean, Apple seals the batteries in the phone because they know it's going to fail after a few years. Even if the battery doesn't straight up fail like this one did, because that is actually rare. Batteries don't normally fail like this that fast. They normally last quite a bit longer than that. They do degrade. And now in battery terminology, when we say degrade, like a lithium-ion battery is typically rated at about 300 to 500 cycles. A cycle is a full charge to 100% and a full discharge to 0%. Now, you never actually go to 100%, you never actually go to 0%. It's the usable capacity of the battery. We're calling that 0 to 100%. You can go below the quote-unquote 0%. There's still voltage in the battery, but you will damage the battery permanently if you do that, possibly irrecoverably. That's why there's a circuit in there that stops you from going lower. And that's why you don't store batteries at 0, because they will self-discharge on their own. And they can damage themselves when they do that. That's why you store them at 40 to 60% charge. So that as they self-discharge, they don't go below that 0%. But batteries are rated at, like these batteries are rated at 300 to 500 cycles. That's about a year and a half. Now, what does that mean? The battery, well, my phone's 3 years old. I was like, yeah, but how long does it run? No, about half what it did when I got it new. Okay? What they mean by 300 to 500 cycles, when they talk about cycle life, they're talking about SOC, or state of charge. How much charge is in the battery. And the standard used is 80% SOC. So the battery is considered close to end of life when it will only hold 80% of the original charge it held when new. So if you have a 1,000 milliamp hour battery, they are saying that you will have 800 milliamps or more up to 500 cycles. 300 to 500 cycles. Now, of course, if you only charge your phone down halfway and then recharge it, that's half a cycle. You can do that about 1,000 times, because a cycle is a full charge discharge. Also, if you habitually don't charge your phone above 80% and don't let it drop below 40%, you extend the lifespan of your phone, because that cycle is less damaging. So, for example, this phone right here actually has it built into the phone where it will actually stop charging at 80%. Like my phone's plugged in right now and it's only drawing 2 watts, because that's how much that's drawing to do what we're doing here. The phone itself is no longer charging. It's sitting at 80%. And now I have that same app on these other phones, but because the app isn't integrated into the firmware, they can't actually stop the charge. What it'll do is it'll vibrate and go ding, 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 ding. It'll make a chime sound to let me know it's reached 80% and it's time to unplug it. Michelle? I know. So it's not automatic. While on this phone, it's automatic because that software is built into the firmware, so it actually has control over the ability to stop charging the phone. And now, every now and then, to check the health of the battery and to exercise the battery, like every 10 times that I plug in or whatever, to say charging to 100% to test the health of the battery, it'll go to 100% and then discharge. And then after that, it'll charge to 80% and stop. That will extend the life of the battery. That's why a lot of people can... That's, for example, it's one of the reasons why the Prius battery lasts for so long. That's because the battery in the Prius is quite a bit bigger than what you actually use when you use your regenerative braking and your electric power to take off. Because I think they're extremely conservative. I think Toyota runs the battery 60-80. I think they discharge to 60 and charge to 80. They use a very small band of the battery, which is why it lasts, 200,000 miles for such a small battery. Because the bigger the battery, the less damage each cycle does to it. The smaller the battery, the more damage occurs. So one of the reasons that we need to push for 400-mile range batteries in electric cars is not just to be able to go 400 miles. I actually suggest limiting the car to 300 miles. I suggest putting a 400-mile range battery in the car, capacity-wise, but using software to tell you it only has 300 miles. And the reason is manyfold. One, the larger battery is going to last substantially longer. Tesla batteries are good to 500,000 miles. they've got Tesla batteries with well over 500,000 miles on them, and that's because the battery is so big that charge and discharge cycle does a lot less damage. Also, when you have such a large battery, you can afford to lose range. Now, my electric car gets about 20% less range in the wintertime than the summertime. So does your gas car. Your gas car gets about 20 to 25% less range, less fuel economy in the wintertime. Why don't you notice it? Why do I notice it? Because my gas tank is 4 gallons. 100-mile range is equivalent to about 4 gallons at 25 miles per gallon, while your gas tank is 25 gallons. So 20% off of 25 is a lot less noticeable than 20% off 4. You notice that real quick. Okay? So by putting a 400-mile range battery in the car, you won't notice the range loss as much. By putting a 400-mile range battery in the car and software limiting you to 300 miles. I'm not talking about, suggesting you stop. I'm talking about your car will die at 300 miles, even though you have, 20% of the battery still left. Because otherwise people would just turn it off if they could. But the point is, now, when the wintertime comes, the software will recognize, hey, it's colder out. Let me give them a little bit of the range from my 100-mile excess that I have, so that you still can go 300 miles. When you lose 40 miles of range because your battery has degraded 10%, it could then give you a little bit more of that reserve so that you can still go 300 miles on a charge. So now, even after your car has, 500,000 miles on it, you can still go 300 miles in the winter with the heat on. And that's the point. The point is not giving you maximum range. The point is giving you reliable, consistent range that you can depend on. That even in a blizzard, I'm going to be able to go 300 miles. Even in the summer with the AC on, I'm going to be able to go 300 miles. Even 10 years after buying the car, you're going to be able to go 300 miles. That's the point. To give you that reliability, that consistency, that dependability. And you do that by putting a larger battery than you need and software limiting how much of it you can use. Because not only does that give you that reserve to pull on, but that allows you to cycle the battery less deeply each time you charge it, which is going to dramatically extend the lifespan of the battery. And what are you going to do? Right now, the batteries are just too expensive. A 400-mile range battery is $50,000. So it's just, you can't do that yet. But, what are you going to do? Boy, we go off topic easily. Alrighty, it's time for me to skedaddle. She has a foot doctor's appointment in an hour. And I gotta stop and grab some produce from Roadrunner. But yeah, hopefully, my plan is, if time permits, to do a quickie before Naram stream next Tuesday evening. So just like an hour or two, talk about what I got ready to go, what I got packed, etc. And then maybe Wednesday night when I get back, because I'll be home by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So maybe 5 or 6 o'clock Wednesday night, depending on how pooped I am, do a recap about what I flew at Naram, how it worked, show you some of the models after they've flown. Maybe I'll have some pictures and video of other 3D printed stuff at Naram. Maybe other people will be flying 3D printed stuff, hopefully. We'll see. And, but yeah, we'll go from there. I think it'll be fun. I'm going to try to sell some jewelry too. I don't have time to make them up for Naram, but that little rocket pop. It's available for free on Thingiverse and printables. You can print them out. They take very little plastic. But somebody posted it, no remixing, no reselling, no nothing. So I was like, screw that. And I went and designed my own. And it's available public domain. If you want to print them and sell them, go for it. So yeah, it's all phase mode. It prints this, then it prints this, then it prints this. 3 separate G-code files. You'll have to figure out how you want to do that. But it's on there as a solid and also as 3 separate pieces. You can just align object origin and it'll all go where they're supposed to go. Just make sure you slow down and use infill for printing this top part so that you get that little hole to put the earring piece through. I'm going to make a full set, so it'll be 2 earrings and a necklace. I think people will like that. Mine are quite a bit smaller than his too. You can scale it up if you want, but I think that looks a lot better. I think that size looks a lot better than something twice that size. So I think that 1.5 inches. I think inch is a good size. How big is it? It is, well, the popsicle is 40 millimeters. The whole thing is 55 millimeters long. And so it's about 2 inches. But yeah, I think that's a good appropriate size. I'm also going to make a rocket just because I want to. So I'm going to turn this into a rocket. Big, of course, I'm going to make a big one and make it into a rocket. So that's it. I will see you guys later. I think for the quickie stream on Tuesday, we'll open up the box from DeWitt. I was hoping DeWitt would show up. We were going to open it, but I don't see him. And now I got to go. So hopefully DeWitt will show up because I want him to be on stream when I open the box. He sent me a goodie box or something in it, so I'm kind of itching to know what's in it. Yeah, seriously, Lightspeed, do that thing with the toilet paper. Yeah. Print out the death threat on this part of the paper, and then just stick that in the toilet paper roll, and then have a camera on your forehead. Hold the camera in front of your face. Walk up to the toilet paper, saying, "Okay, my latest death threat for my my Titan submarine toilet paper holder. Here we go from so and so," and then say, "Well, I gotta go to the bathroom." Tear it off and turn off the camera. You should do a little TikTok video for each of those threats you get. Oh, that will enrage them. Oh my God, that will enrage them. And if they show up at your door, I believe Arizona's constitutional carry. You know how to take care of business. I personally suggest Mr. 12 Gauge. He's a very, very good roommate. And he comes in with a bang. You know he enters the room when he enters. So that's it. I will see you guys later. Thank you very much. Seriously though, do that. You could do 3 on each piece of paper and then just cut them. That would be freaking epic burn. Oh, I'm making a new sticker for my my Kia. I want to see if you guys get this. I love this so much. I have to do this. So I actually don't have a way of showing it to you.
Are you saying something?
I'm going to put this on my car. I'm going to get a sticker made, and this is going to go on my car. I got to take a picture of it and then show you the picture, because otherwise you have no way of seeing it. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Is that right side around or is that backwards? That looks backwards to me. No, it's right side around. I'm looking at it here. All right. Opposite words. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just got rickrolled.